We are currently 63 councillors in council chamber. We are more than the 51 councillors required for the quorum. I'm going to give a moment of silence for silent contemplation, for meditation and prayer. Thank you, councillors. I just please want to remind you again, if you have your cell phones with you, please ensure they're either on silent, flight mode, or the best option, please just switch them off. I want to open this meeting by welcoming all the councillors we have in the council chambers today. I also want to welcome the guests that we have with us today. The Acting Premier and MEC of Korta, Mr. T. Makume, a representative from the Defence Force, General Moedira, the Acting Executive Mayor's wife, Mrs. Mbatisi, the MEC for Treasury, Mrs. G. Brown. I want to welcome Mr. Noor with us today. I want to welcome Mrs. Swats from the HDL Civic Organization with us today, Mr. Shabalola from Nedbank, Mrs. Moroka from Barabong, I want to welcome today. Then I want to welcome from our SA, Mr. Simon, Mr. Mojananga and Mrs. Mkwena. I want to welcome Mr. Khedi from the Mangaung All Persons Forum. I want to welcome Ms. Ramakatsa. I want to welcome Ms. Motampani, Ms. Kumari, Mr. Jwili, Mr. Pitsu, and Mr. Utebi. Then I also want to welcome our council whip's wife with us today, Mrs. Nakelo. I want to welcome Mr. Mashimona, Mr. Oleni, and also Mr. Lebaking. I want to welcome these guests with us today and thank them for taking the time to be with us today. Like I said, I also want to welcome all the councillors that are with us today. And then I think most importantly, definitely not last, all the residents that are here with us today and even that who are following us on Facebook. We are here for you today. Council is in your service and you are the most important people of Mangaung. Colleagues, we are on page 4 of the agenda, item 91. Notice of the meeting was given in terms of section 29.1 of the Local Government Municipal Structures Act and rule 5.1 of the Council Standing Rules and Orders. I'm then on item 92, application for leave of absence. This will be dealt with administratively. Then we're on item 93, the acceptance of the agenda. We have 2 items on the agenda today. 95.1, which is the tabling of the Mangaung Metropolitan Municipalities 2023-24 Reviewed Integrated Development Plan, IDP, as well as the sectoral plans 2023-2024 for approval. And 95.2, the tabling for approval of the medium-term revenue and expenditure framework, the CAPEX booklet, budget-related policies, which include the policy on indigent customers, the policies on property rates, the principle and policy on writing off of irrecoverable debt, the tariffs policy, the credit control and debt collection policy, the cost containment policy, the travel management policy, the Environment Policy and the draft revised 16 Supply Chain Management Policy, the General Tariffs for 2023-2024 to 2025-2026, and then B, the CENTLEC Medium-Term Revenue and Expenditure Framework for 2023-2024 to 2025-2026. And then also the CENTLEC Amended Policies, which is the Credit Control and Debt Collection Policy, the Supply Chain Management Policy, the Small-Scale Embedded Generation Policy, the Provision of Bulk Infrastructure by Developers, the ICT Backup Policy, Patch Management Policy, the Disaster Recovery Plan, the Identity Management Password Policy, Information and Communication Incident Management Policy, the Information and Communication Technology Framework, the ICT Strategy Plan 2029 to 2023, the ICT Security Policy, and the Tariff Policy. Then also the SDBIP and the CENTLEC Business Plan for 2022-2027. I just want to state that we will be combining all these items. So the Executive Mayor will be tabling the reports, and councillors can then draw the items and speak on all the items as a combined item. Can I please get an adopter for the agenda? Thank you, Councillor Dennis. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Kruger. I'm then on item 94 of the agenda, announcements. I just want to state we have translation services with us today. Please just make sure your volume is turned up fully. On channel 2 you will get Afrikaans, on channel 3 you will get isiXhosa, and on channel 4 you will get Sesotho for translation services. Thank you, councillors. Then I'm going to give over to the Executive Mayor to table these reports. Sorry, Executive Mayor. Oh.
I will move over there.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, Councillor Mariki Davis, Acting Premier, MEC of Corporate Governance, Honorable Toto Makume, Acting Chief Whip, Councillor Vumbila Nikelo, Chairpersons of Sections 79 committees, fellow councillors, traditional leaders in here, General Muadira, Acting Municipal Manager in absentia, Mrs. Ngaka Dumailisile, Member of the National Administration Team, municipal officials, members of ward committees, the media in here, my dear wife, Maggie, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Speaker, in the recent past, our council was embroiled in a scramble for power, factional battles, and political divide within and along party lines. These tensions that existed could hardly allow an atmosphere of democratic engagement aimed at developing the best modalities and solutions that could best serve the people of our Metro Mangaung. Madam Speaker, I hope that my observation that there is a sign of unity, and that unity in action that it's generally a tolerance amongst councillors and general tolerance amongst councillors and political parties will go a long way in making us serve the people of this city. The science of this united front that I've alluded to has seen an insurmountable amount of dedication and resoluteness by councillors performing their duties with dedication, devotion, and discipline. Their contribution can be seen by the reports emanating from various council committees who gave shape and content to the budget that one is tabling today. Fellow councillors, I therefore dedicate this budget to you for putting the people of Mangaung first. Without your cooperation, we would have not been meeting today and meeting our ultimatum, which stems from our initial request for the extension in terms of the Schedule G of the budget and reporting resolution, MBRR. This tabling, Madam Speaker, coincides with the 47th anniversary, which is a commemoration of June 16, our National Youth Day, which will be celebrated, Madam Speaker, in our metro from the 16th to the 17th of June 2023. That is beginning tomorrow. This tabling is also taking place, Madam Speaker, in a year which 40 years ago, the people of this country gave birth to an organization, the United Democratic Front, a body that stood to fight for the interest of our people against the abhorrent system of apartheid. Madam Speaker, it was on the 15th of May when we celebrated Africa Day, a 60th anniversary of the event, when the leaders of Africa converged in Addis Ababa to establish an organization of African unity and declared the said day as Africa Day. Troubled by these questions and further realizing that we are also beginning our tenure on the slate of qualified audit opinion, Madam Speaker, including a disclaimer on the performance information, as per finding of the Auditor General, I realize that together with the people of Mangaung, we can play a significant role in resolving our challenges. In our outreach program, Madam Speaker, we visited a number of churches. The idea of bringing all religious denominations together under one roof with the intention of praying for a Mangaung during a month of August was mooted. The Office of the Executive Mayor is working tirelessly to ensure that a committee to realize this objective is realized. My apology, Madam Speaker. We also honor, in our endeavor, Madam Speaker, in the outreach program, we are honored to have hosted the Free State leg of the National World Cup Trophy, which came on our shore, and we wish our national netball team a resounding success during the Netball World Cups, starting from 28th of July to the 6th of August, 2023 in Cape Town. We wish also to congratulate our able team consisting mainly of the employees represented us, which represented us at the recent held Comrade Marathon. Yet again, Madam Speaker, the cheaters will be involved in a protracted battle to make us proud by blessing us with lifting the Currie Cup trophy. We also wish them all the success in their endeavor. Let me also take this opportunity, Madam Speaker, to congratulate Councillor Bongani Matai on his election as a provincial chairperson of the Free State Salga. Madam Speaker, we have recently removed the moratorium of filling of post, and we will be working hard to ensure that advertisements are in place in time and that senior positions and other critical posts in the city are filled. We also hope that the filling of this senior management post will fast-track the cascading of performance management system to the lowest echelons of the institution. In addition, Madam Speaker, to this, we will also continue to seek smart solutions by exploring new technological advancement and automation to enhance our internal controls, approvals, and financial management system. On the medium-term revenue and expenditure framework, notwithstanding all the current setbacks, Madam Speaker, this budget seeks to strike a balance between the need of the people as espoused in the IDP, including our institutional capacity to respond accordingly. Having followed the budget principle underpinning local government finance and in accordance with the MFMA, we have prepared the budget for the next metric period 2023, 2024, and 2025-2026. Therefore, Madam Speaker, our total revenue budget for the metric budget is projected at 9.31 billion in 2023-2024, excluding capital grant of 8.53 billion in 2022-2023, representing an increase in revenue of 783.56 million to the tune of 9.19% of the 2022-2023 adjustment budget. The projection for the outer 2 years of the metric period is 9.92 billion and 10.61 billion respectively. The operating budget expenditure increases from the adjustment budget amount of 7.97 billion in 2022-2023 to a new budget amount of 8.63 billion in 2023-2024, representing an increase of 6.95 million to the tune of 8.18%. The projection for the outer 2 years of metric period is 9.17 billion and 9.68 billion respectively. Fellow citizens, it is equally noteworthy that our capital budget for the 2023-2024 financial year is set at 1.15 billion, which is increase of 86.70 million to the tune of 6.99% as compared to the 2022-2023 adjustment budget of 1.24 billion. The capital budget of 2 year outer year of the outer metric period has been set at 1.2 billion and 1.29 billion respectively. Tariffs. Madam Speaker, it is incumbent upon us on behalf of the Council to clarify the issue of electricity tariff increase for the financial year 2022-2024. 2023-2024, when we tabled the budget for noting purposes on the 2nd of May 2023. The service tariffs were prepared in accordance with the National Treasury guidelines, since NERSA guidelines were not yet issued at that time. Now, the current budget is in line with NERSA, which is 15.10% increase for municipalities. Fellow citizens, the charges facing ESCOM are borne by all of us in accordance with the electricity tariffs that is set to increase by 15.1%. The electricity revenue is projected at 3.58 billion in 2023-2024 and 3.32 billion in the 2022-23 adjustment budget, representing an increase of 265.28 million to the tune of 7.99% on the 2022-2023 adjustment budget. The projection for the outer 2 years of the metric period is 3.74 billion and 3.92 billion respectively. It should be noted that electricity tariffs increase are improved by energy regulator and NERSA. This increase is therefore in line with the recommended increase. It should further be noted that ESCOM was granted an increase of 18.65%, which left the municipality with no other choice but to increase tariffs by the recommended 15.10%. Furthermore, for the financial year 2023-2024, the property rates increased by 5.72% prior to the average increase. We took into consideration few critical factors, including the average increase of the rates tariffs of 5.30%, implementation of zero-based budget in line with Moscow principle and growth of the city. The average water tariffs will increase by 9.00%. In the main, the information by increase is cost from Blue Water. In the current financial year, water services revenue is set to increase by 15.20%, while consideration of zero-based budget and growth of the city was considered. The monetary terms in projection at 1.31 billion is in 2023-2024, in brackets 1.14 billion in the prior year, representing an increase of 172.68 million to the tune of 15.20% on the 2022-2023 adjustment budget. The projection for the outer year of the medium term revenue and expenditure framework of metric period is 1.37 billion and 1.45 billion respectively. The sewer tariffs are determined to be increasing by 5.30 for the residential customers and 5.90% for non-residential customers on an average in the 2023-2024 financial year, and by 5.40% residential and 6.20% non-residential, and 5.70% residential and 6.30% non-residential for the two respective outer year. The sanitation revenue is projected at 5.60 million in 2023-2024 to the tune of 5.07 to 0.20 million in the 2022-2023 adjustment budget respectively, an increase of 13.40 million to the tune of 2.64% on the 2022-2023 adjustment budget. The projection for the outer 2 year on the metric period is 583.19 million and 642.41 million respectively. The refuse tariffs are determined to be increasing by 8.00% on the average in 2023-2024 financial year and by average of 8.20% and 4.70 for the two respective outer year. The refuse revenue is projected at 184.26 million in 2022-2023 and 177.67 million in the 2022-2023 adjustment budget, representing an increase of 6.57 million, which is to the tune of 3.71% on the 2022-2023 adjustment budget. The projection for the outer 2 year of the metric period is 204.60 million and 215.44 million respectively. Fellow citizens, the budget further addressed critical governance issues identified by the Council as key priorities. These include employees-related costs. It has also become a norm to expect sporadic labor unrest ensuing on and after municipal payout. The salaries and wages budget are also increased by 9.13% to the tune of 204.73 million based on the 2022-2023 adjustment budget amount of 2.24 billion to a new amount of 2.45. It is 2.24 billion to a new amount of 2.45 billion in the current financial year. The high increase is due to the reduction of the vacancies in the adjustment budget that did not materialize. If that impact is considered, the increase would only be 4.90%. New appointments are considered in accordance with the new micro-organizational structure approved by the Council in November 2022. The new micro-organizational structure was designed in accordance with the provision of municipal tariffs regulation. Madam Speaker, allow me to focus on other key priorities at the Council. There will be a significant decrease of high overtime and expenditure on acting positions as the Council's envisage filling critical vacancies estimated at 134.8 million. We have also made our intention quite clear during our focus engagement with organized labor and the officials on the same issue of overtime. The value for taxpayers' money must be ascertained in whatever way we do. Regarding the expanded Public Works Program, EPWP, and Presidential Employment Program, which is PEP, an allocation of 32 million has been made. This allocation represents an increase of 39% compared to the draft budget of 23 million. The increase is mainly because of additional PPE and tools for 2,000 contract employees, opportunities for greening and cleaning project in partnership with the Department of Forestry, Fishery and Environmental Affairs. The allocation must also be understood in terms of presidential employment stimulus packages that was initiated in response to the devastating economic impact of COVID-19. Through the beneficiaries, operating within the jurisdictions of a municipality. They are not necessarily the employees of the municipality per se. This emphasis is as a result of the city having experienced protests relating to this type of contracts. The city has therefore made a special allocation of 17.7 million for the sustainable refuse removal solutions. Added to this allocation, 3.5 million will be spent for maintenance of parks, city entrances, and felling of trees. We are facing the realities, Madam Speaker, where all seems to be good and perfect when driving on the national roads, while the provincial and municipal roads are the worst nightmare. This amongst other things, involving the state of national and provincial roads, has grown too wide, as if the roads belong to different nationhood. Yet all this happened within a single unity and a single state. Thus, for maintenance involving addressing potholes, regraveling of street, and cleaning of stormwater channels, the city will be spending 30.5 million added to this for the upgrading of roads, including reconstruction of amounting to 80 million has been allocated. For the upgrading and maintenance and management of integrated public transport network infrastructure, we also will be spending 310 million. Madam Speaker, the people of Mangaung have been robbed of their constitutional rights to a healthy environment due to the constant stretch of sewer running through the street. We are working around the clock in addressing the sewer spillages. Accordingly, for the unblocking and maintenance of sewer reticulation infrastructure, including emptying of pit latrines, 50.9 million has been allocated. Added to this, 68.8 million has been allocated for sewer infrastructure. Fellow councillors, during community meetings, we should never shy away from the reality that we are a semi-arid country with a serious challenges of water scarcity. It is estimated that almost 40% of the total municipal water supplies to our localities is lost before it reaches our residents. And a substantial amount of it is lost due to illegal connection, amongst other things, and spillages. To address this crisis of water leakages and losses, and an amount of about 60.3 million and 140.1 million for upgrading of water infrastructure has been made available respectively. Still on water, Madam Speaker, an allocation of 22.2 million has been made available for the prepaid and bulk water meter. While enduring the effect of the energy crisis of load shedding, we need to sustain the maintenance and management of electricity infrastructure. And for this, we have also budgeted 110.8 million for maintenance and 207.9 million for electricity infrastructure, respectively. The challenge of aging municipal fleet is receiving the necessary attention. As a result, our allocation towards effective management and solution was budgeted at 37.2 million and 14.4 million for maintenance of vehicles. In pursuit of fiscal prudence, we have allocated 3.11 billion for ESCOM and Blue Motor bulk account, This city has also set aside 161.8 million for servicing of other loans. There is no doubt that the increased debt book, Madam Speaker, weakens our institutional capacity in terms of effective service delivery. The debt balance as from 31st May 2023 stood at 9.61 billion and is of grave concern and requires urgent attention. Our rates of collection is still relatively low, Madam Speaker. However, implementation of strategic overview of revenue collection and expenditure is on course. For improved revenue collection and enhancement strategies, we will spend 34.7 million on a need-to-do basis. And Madam Speaker, I must insist, a need-to-do basis is informed by an effort to look at modalities in which will intervene in ensuring that we reduce this amount or save part of this amount in our endeavor to realize a better collection strategy. Regarding human settlement, the Vista Park 3 catalytic project development is under construction, and internal service such as road, stormwater, and sewer have been completed. Other services involving critical electrical infrastructure for extension 261, 262, and 263, which are identified for subsidized houses, are underway. For the Vista Park development, the city will be spending 59.1 million. The fresh produce market should be seen as a mere source of own revenue, but rather it should not be seen as a mere source of revenue, but rather as a significant role player in the food supply chain. Thus, the renovation and repairs of this municipal facility will cost the municipality 53.1 million, Madam Speaker. The strategic goal of Council is to enhance the quality of life of household. We are concentrating on the improvement of the level service, including security of tenure and upgrading existing of informal settlement. For the upgrading of this informal settlement, 280.4 million has been allocated. Though we are ranked by a credible institution such as the World Bank Group as one of the cities where it is easier to do business, we have not fully explored this competitive advantage. For economic and rural development initiative, the city will be spending 29.8 million. The Council will soon embark on a robust engagement on the economic development trajectory of the city. As Council deliberates on the ideal of growth path, the city will be, amongst others, embarking on an economic investment summit, as well as the development of a long-term growth and development strategy for the city. It is an effort that we must all look forward to, Madam Speaker. On the operating expenditure budget. The operating expenditure budget increased from the adjustment budget amounting of 7.97 billion in 2022-2023 to a new budget amounting of 8.6 billion in 2023-2024, representing an increase of about 651.9 million to the tune of 8.18%. The projection for the outer 2 year of the metric period is 9.17 billion and 9.68 billion respectively. The budget amount for debt impairment increased by 257.5 million to 20, which is 22.89% from 2022 to 2023 adjustment budget allocation of 1.13 billion to a new amount of 1.38 billion. This indicative for the two outer year of the metric period is 1.47 billion and 1.56 billion respectively. Included under the debt impairment of is a provision of the expected consolidated collection rate of 82%. Fellow councillors, the budgeted depreciation amount is 382.45 million for 2022-2023 adjustment budget of 2022-2023 to 347.00 million. The provision is showing an increase of about 35.45 million to the tune of about 10.22% for the 2022-2023 budget year. Bulk purchase. In preparing this budget, we have also taken into serious consideration the implementation of the latest version of Municipal Standard Chart of Account, MOSCA, with regard to the tariffs and bulk purchase. On the allocations of bulk purchases, electricity increased by 4.7%, amounting to 98.76 million against the 2022-2023 adjustment budget amounting to the amount of 2.1 billion to the proposed new amount of 2.2 billion for the 2023-2024 budget year. The allocation for the two outer year of the metric period is 2.3 billion and 2.41 billion respectively. Bulk water purchases. Inventory consumed considered together with other losses increased by 2.26%, amounting to 20.1 million against 2022-2023 adjustment budget of 898.00 million to the proposed amount of 910.1 million for the 2022-2024 budget year. This allocation for the two outer years of the metric period is 997.41 million of to the tune of 1.09 billion respectively. Bulk purchases take up approximately 36.05% of the operating budget of 2023-2024. Inventory consumed, consumable materials and supply, etc. budget decreased by 5.35%, which is 5.91 million against the 2022-2023 adjustment budget amount of 110.5 million to the proposed amount of 104.68 million for the 2023-2024 budget. The allocation for the two outer years of the metric period is therefore 99.72 million and 110.11 million respectively. On contracted services. Fellow councillors, contracted services budget increased by 27.4 million, which is 4.22% from the approved adjustment budget allocated for allocation of 649.59 million in 2022 2023 to a new allocation of 676.997 million. This allocation for the 2 outer years of matric period is therefore 765.51 million and 788.00 million respectively. The increase is due to the intention to address the service delivery priorities and cleanliness of our city. It caters for litter and picking and street cleaning, maintenance of parks, cleaning of entrances, tree cutting, repairs and maintenance of roads, unblocking of sewer, reticulation infrastructure, and attending to water losses due to burst pipes, leakages, maintenance of service delivery vehicles, and implementations of revenue enhancement strategies. Included in the cost of contracted services are the cost of identified repairs and maintenance linked to each element of the expense category. This cost of repairs and maintenance is projected at 556.59 million for 2023-2024 budget year and for the 2-year outer year of the matric period. The costs are projected at 626.59 is projected at 626.59 million and 659.03 million respectively. Transfer and grants. Madam Speaker, transfers and subsidies budget increased from the approximated adjustment budget of 409.173 in 2022-2023 to an amount of 1.84 million in 2023-2024. The allocation for the 2 outer years of the matric period is therefore 1.96 million and 2.08 million respectively. Capital budget. Fellow councillors, the capital budget for the 2023-2024 financial year is set at 1.15 billion, a decrease of 86.7 million to the tune of 6.99% as compared to the 2022-2023 adjustment budget of 1.124 billion. The capital budget for the 2 outer year of the matric period has been set at 1.2 billion and 1.29 billion respectively. The budget will be funded out of government grant and subsidies and initially generated fund, that is own fund, as funded as funding source. Government grant contribution to the metro capital budget will be reduced by 79.81 million, that is 7.74%, to 951.37 million in 2023-2024 from adjustment budget amount of 1.03 billion in the 2022-2023 budget year. The projection for the 2 outer year of the matric period is 986.52 million and 1.07 billion respectively. The grants and subsidies contribute up to 81.17% to a total capital funding over the matric period. This major grant belongs to Urban Settlement Development Grant, USDG, Informal Settlement Grant, Partnership Grant, and Public Transport Network Grant. For the USDG, the city has been allocated 498.43 million in the 2022-2023 financial year and 530.20 million and 554 million in the 2 years, in the 2 outer years. The USDG is provided directly to accredited or high capacity metros and municipalities by means of a Division of Revenue Act, DORA, transfer from infrastructure development to support the upgrading of informal settlement and increase the provision of services and land in metropolitan municipalities. This grant enables us to create a sustainable and integrated human settlement that lead towards improving or improved quality of people's life in Mangaung. Madam Speaker, regarding the informal settlement upgrading grant, an allocation of 280.43 million in the 2022-2023 financial year has been made available, intended to serve as a planning and preparatory platform towards the informal settlement upgrading partnership grant. An amount of 289.8 million and 302.7 million has been allocated in the respective outer year previously. This grant was included in the USDG and ring-fenced for informal settlement. Among other critical grants through which we are funded, it is Public Transport Network Grant. The city has been allocated 158.2 million in the 2023-2024 financial year and 151.53 million and 166.89 million in the 2 outer year. Included in the capital budget are projects to the extent of 217.42 million for the 2023-2024 year funded through own fund. The allocation of the 2 metric period outer year is 227.95 million and 238.65 million respectively. Madam Speaker, as part of our engagement with communities and stakeholders, after the tabling of the draft budget, we received submission and input from communities, NGOs, educational institutions, and national treasures. And this input were incorporated accordingly in the final draft. Let me emphasize this, Madam Speaker. This massive budget was thoroughly scrutinized by National Treasury, and the feedback we receive is that as we tabling this budget, it is credible, it is relevant, and it is a sustainable budget. Accordingly, the budget is confirmed also to be funded, Madam Speaker. For we can no longer tolerate making operational spending commitments that are not linked to our own revenue source for their funding. Hence, we conducted few sessions with the officials to get their sleeves rolled out, encouraging them to leave politics to politicians and focus on their respective professions and services in serving the people of Mangaung. We must be honest, Madam Speaker, that we have allowed financial crisis and governance failure to entangle around us. Together we must devise strategies to free ourselves. We will never rest until we escape this serious physical risk that we are facing. It should be noted that owing to our difficult past, Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Finance and Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, COCTA, sent a team, Madam Speaker, of experts to assist the municipality in the administration and the financial recovery plan. We wish to extend our sincere gratitude and thanks to this team that worked with us tirelessly. And we hope that by the time of their departure, our institution would have grown from strength to strength. We've also set up a war room to ensure that service delivery is conducted in an integrated manner and in the spirit of transversal management as the National Treasury, with the National Treasury encouragement. Other mitigating strategies to enhance institutional performance include, Madam Speaker, Supply Chain Management Committee Priorities Grant Fund projects, establishment of the Project Management Unit, prioritization of the resolution on the contract management issue, ensuring that contractors are paid on time, fast-tracking appointment of contractors and consultants involving emergency procurement where necessary, and adopting panels to minimize risk of non-expenditure and instances of poor performance. Our office, Madam Speaker, that of the acting executive mayor, has been inundated, Madam Speaker, by calls, emails, and all form of communication from our fellow councillors, members of the community, to attend to the frustrations of spillages of sewer, leakages of water, collections of and refuse removal. And to this, Madam Speaker, we have been faced as the municipality by limited resource. We invited fellow countrymen and work around cleaning our city, and we would like to thank those that came forward to work alongside with us to, Madam Speaker, provide their labor, their resources, and their equipment to work alongside with us to enhance in answering some of the clarion call that would be coming from our fellow councillors, members of the society, in asking the municipality to address some of these limitations that we are faced with. And in our activity and engagement with the people of our metro, there were pertinent questions that were asked to us, Madam Speaker. One of the questions was, when are we getting the people to enhance the workers by ensuring that we clean our city? When are we opening their zoo or bringing their zoo to them? Are we serious in ensuring that we will work with the Celtics fans to bring Celtics home? These were critical questions that were asked to us, Madam Speaker. We are putting these questions before the council to say, it is your fiduciary duty as councillors to provide answers to some of these critical questions. The list is long, Madam Speaker, of the questions that were put before us. When are we ensuring that we get rid of potholes? we had limited answers to these questions. One of the one of the hope that it's all right, Madam Speaker. One of the hope that we placed before our people was that we'll be sitting before the councillors and tabling a budget that will address some of these limitations that our people were making reference to. It is on that spirit and that understanding, Madam Speaker, that to give answers to some of these pertinent questions, it is therefore my great honor and privilege, Madam Speaker, to table before you this budget 2023-2024, 2024-2025 medium-term expenditure framework. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
I've got the following speakers on the item. I've got Councillor Titi Odile, Councillor McCoy, Councillor Murake, Councillor Leach, Councillor Nshlopu, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Pupa, Councillor Rampai, Councillor Twala from the ATM, Councillor Letawana, Councillor Peter, Councillor van der Walt, and then Councillor Foster. Is there any other speakers on the item? Councillor Kai. Sorry, councillors, the light's just in my eye. From the EFF, which councillors? And Councillor Sibulau. Sorry, like I said, I can't see. The light's in my eye. Only Councillor Dipali. Okay. Okay, thank you, councillors. The order will then be Councillor Titi Odile, Councillor McCoy, Councillor Murake, Councillor Leach, Councillor Nshlopu, Councillor Dipole, Councillor Thompson, Councillor Mongale, Councillor Pupa, Councillor Rampai, Councillor Kwai, Councillor Twala from the ATM, Councillor Letawana, Councillor Peter, Councillor van der Walt, and Councillor Foster. Okay. Councillors, I just want to say, Councillor Titi Odile will start us off. She will be sitting while delivering a speech, so I don't want to hear anything about that, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I just want to apologize to the councillors that because of the my knee problem, I just request that I won't be able to stand up. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, Acting Executive Mayor, the Chief of the Council, all the guests that are here, Honorable Councillors. Mostly, Madam Speaker, I just want to appreciate the Portfolio Committee of Finance regarding the engagement, robust engagement that we had in this budget. And I believe that our engagement as the multi-party committee will really assist taking this council forward. Madam Speaker, I was happy yesterday when I was listening to Joburg City budget proceedings. They have challenges exactly like our challenges. And the multi-party that is serving to that metro, they engage thoroughly in that budget. And they put citizens of Johannesburg first in all matters that we have, in all matters that they were having within the council. I hope, Honorable Speaker, even in this council today, what happened in Joburg City, it will happen. Honorable Speaker, Section 153 of Constitution requires that a municipality must structure and manage its administration and budgeting and planning processes to give priority to the basic needs of the community and to promote the social and economic development of the community. The MFMA, together with the Municipal Systems Act 2000, aims to facilitate compliance with this constitutional duty by ensuring that the municipalities prioritize, plan, budgets, implementation, action and reports are properly aligned. Honorable Speaker, the Executive Mayor alluded more in the Council of Priorities and Funding bias. But Honorable Speaker, I just want to only talk about one point, the issue of the ESCOM and the issue of the Bloom Water bulk account. That as a city, because of intergovernmental relations and the relations between us and those entities, it must be smooth and healthy. The municipality budgeted 3.11 billion to make sure that there are no conflict between us and those entities, because we don't want Executive Mayor, as happened before, that we must have a conflict between us and Bloom Water, and that conflict affects our community. And in the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Speaker, councillors were emphasizing the issue of, did we budget properly for the Bloom Water and the ESCOM? And the answer is they bad. The committee also engaged that this council must know that the provincial government must also, and the national government must do so, because what we are doing, we want also them to do it, for us to manage to stick on the agreement of payment between us and Bloom Water and the St. Leg and the ESCOM. Honorable Speaker, the same budget that we are tabling today, we managed to decrease from the draft budget the amount of 120 million to make sure that when the National Treasury is assessing this budget, our budget become credible, relevant, and sustainable. Honorable Speaker, I just want to put in front of this council that when this budget was drafted, it was drafted on the collection rate of 82%. But the National Treasury, they have their own criteria in terms of assessing the budget that we submit on them. They just put it in different categories. Honorable Speaker, the National Treasury indicated that collection of St. Lake, we're saying it's 95%. The National Treasury put it on 91.5%, the collection of St. Lake. And then in terms of the property rate, we're saying it's 95%. The National Treasury put it on 94%. But any other services that we collect on, Honorable Speaker, is still sitting in 55%. Is the way, Honorable Speaker, and I'm happy, Honorable Speaker, that our officials really attended the benchmarking between us and the National Treasury. As you know, Honorable Speaker, that the National Treasury is the one that is monitoring our budget, whether are we correct or whether are we wrong. Honorable Speaker, I just want to indicate that in terms of the MFMA, this medium budget is a financial plan that enables the municipality to achieve its vision and mission through the IDP strategy, which is informed by the development agenda and community stakeholders input. You know, Honorable Speaker, we, as the city, we have 5 pillars that our budget must talk about. The special transformation, which is clear in the 280 of the informal settlement grant. The economic growth, I think the executive may also put that the food produce, the budget has been increased by 15 million. The social services delivery is also, Honorable Executive Mayor, as the Executive Mayor mentioned, the council priorities. It's also alluded the amounts that must really work on service delivery, as we are really fragile in terms of leakages, in terms of sanitation, in terms of package systems and VIP systems that we must eradicate as the city. The status of roads of the city, which is the budget is talking about those. Honorable Speaker, I remember that Honorable Leach was even indicating to us that is the contract services and the repair maintenance the same amount. In this budget, Honorable Speaker, the contract services from the draft budget has been increased, but is there to make sure that where we lack, as the Executive Mayor indicated, that we must appoint employees that will assist the number of labor that we have, which is, I believe that it's still going to be reduced more. And the repair and maintenance, we are in the norm, Honorable Speaker, of 6%. You know the norm of the repair and maintenance should be 8%. But as the city now, we are running in the 6%, we're about to reach the norm. But we are saying, Honorable Speaker, while our budget is credible and relevant and sustainable, but we must work hard as the city to make sure that, Executive Mayor, we collect more than the amount and they will reach the norm of 96% that we should as the city. Honorable Speaker, as the African National Congress, we are really supporting this budget, but maintaining that those who are owing us, they must pay the city for us to make sure that we achieve the plans and the strategy that we put forward in this council for the benefit of the community of Mangaung. In those words, Honorable Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor McKay.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And good morning to everybody. All protocols observed. Madam Speaker, to you, to the acting Executive Mayor. Sir, I refer to you as you are the person that tabled these items, and thus the buck stops with you. Sir, the DA is well aware of the challenges the Metro faces and the reasons why we are in this dilemma. We are also aware that unfortunately you inherited these problems created by your predecessors. With this IDP review and medium-term revenue and expenditure framework, you were granted the opportunity to turn it around. Unfortunately, your team did not grab the opportunity to put politics aside and work with the opposition parties to put forward the best options for the residents of Mangaung. So this IDP review unfortunately does not speak to the needs of the residents as reflected in this document, nor does it correlate to the medium-term framework in totality. Let me start with human settlements. None of the much-needed mixed-use urban area developments have served as a human settlement Section 80 committee, even though Vista Park 2 and 3 and Hillside View have already been allocated to private developers. Nor do any of them correlate in the line items under infrastructure or rural development. By your own admission, there is a serious lack of integrated infrastructure planning and implementation. The displacement of the Vista Park subsistence farmers to Martindale is a perfect example. I truly hope more planning will go into relocating the Brandkop 702 subsistence farmers. Moving on to the water crisis. Mangaung geographically is situated in a semi-desert area and as such endures a fair amount of hardship due to its hot, arid climate. On average receives between 500 to 550 mils of rainfall per year. The population of approximately 860,000 is spread over an area of 9,886 square kilometers, of which 96% is concentrated in 3 urban areas of Bloemfontein, Botshabelo and Tabanshu. The remaining 4% is into Withdrawal, Vector, Soutpan and Van Stadenwest. 95.9% of these residents are directly reliant on water supplied by the Metro by one means or another. The Metro is facing challenges of aging infrastructure, which is busy collapsing due to a lengthy period of lack of maintenance. Daily more and more pipes are bursting, and the backlog is growing and not growing smaller. According to the 2022-2023 Audit General's report, 45% of the income derived from water was spent on water losses caused by leaks, 82% of that amount, and illegal connections, the other 18%. This equates to 400 million rand plus per annum in wasteful expenditure by the Metro, not to mention the precious purified water loss in this arid, water-scarce environment. All of this, which is acknowledged in this document. So it really confuses me. Although millions are allocated to the upgrade of infrastructure, none to logistics resources. So when we presented a feasible, viable and sustainable solution, you chose to ignore it and leave the potential tenderpreneur feeding trough option of vehicle lease on the budget. I reiterate our proposal to you again. Surely it makes more sense to purchase than rent. Economic 101 will tell you that purchasing adds assets to your portfolio while renting lines the pockets of others. 8.5 million of the 15 million allocated to future rentals of fleet and the mechanical workshop should be allocated to purchase 14 buckies and 100,000 rand of standard equipment and material per the bucky for the valve and reticulation teams. This would enable them to speedily attend to leaks and illegal connections, thus vastly reducing the current water loss and the 400 million rand per annum wasteful expenditure. In addition, it would reduce the overtime bill, as currently teams are forced to work overtime to try and combat the backlog, as that is when the vehicles and logistic resources become available. As a side note, if the current trends of the pipe burst and delays repair continue, it will easily rise to 60% of the water loss, which equates to roughly 550 million rand in the upcoming year. The 6.5 billion of the balance that could be allocated to buy 3 hydroblasters and 7 buckets. This will go along to sanitation to buy 3 hydroblasters and 7 buckets. This will go a long way to rapidly unblocking the blocked municipal drains and thus preventing the possible spread of cholera. This brings me to roads and stormwater. Although there seems to be a priority placed on resealing of roads and pothole maintenance, there is very little mention of gravel road maintenance. No mention of earth-moving equipment or road maintenance and vehicle purchases. There are currently no operating TLBs, excavators, compactors or rollers, and apparently there are only 2 graders and 4 tipper trucks operational in the entire Mangaung Metro. If the needs of the residents are reflected in the reviewed IDP, which indicates that all of the wards that have gravel roads in them complained about the condition. Yet there are no line items indicating an implementation of the 35 million allocated. And where is the money gone? Why is it not being utilised to purchase earth-moving and excavating vehicles and quarry mining licenses? Why is the refurbishment of much-needed and publicised Spitzkop Bainsplay stormwater system been totally removed from the 2023-24 framework? Are residents just expected to live with their homes flooding every time it rains 3 millimetres or more? You do realise that the reason for the gravel roads are in the state that they are is mainly due to lack of proper stormwater channels to relay the water from the roads. Please don't be penny wise and pound foolish. Prioritise the stormwater and gravel road maintenance in all peri and rural areas. The funds originally allocated to water and sanitation along with the mining grant will now be available to purchase these vehicles. That is, if you implement our suggestion to relinquish the 15 million allocated to rentals. Another side note, 17% of the Metro's revenue comes from rural and peri-urban areas. Yet their needs are ignored. If the residents in these areas decide to go forward with a rumoured tax revolt, it will have a devastating effect on this metro. In closing, Mr. Executive Mayor, please rethink the funds that have been budgeted for the weighbridges at the unfenced landfill sites, as they have as much use as the budgeted bulletproof vests for the Metro Police ghost workers. Finally, I beg you, become the change you want to see. Set politics aside and see the merits of our proposals. Withdraw this item, make the changes, and bring it back in 7 days. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Executive Mayor, the Chief Whip, the members, councillors, officials, also the MAC Corporate, the MAC Finance. I think that I'll emphasize more on the issue of the process of integrated development plan or IDP, and also on the issues of performance. How is the city of going to tackle this? As the executive mayor has just presented the budget. Madam Speaker, as a councillor, we are governed by various pieces of legislation. Here among them is Municipal Finance Contract Act and the Municipal Systems Act. There are significant in establishing accountable and people-driven democratic governance. The review of the city IDP 2023-2024, followed by the budget, followed by IDP and budget process plan, that was adopted by the council council in 2022. Furthermore, section 17 and 18 of chapter 4 in the Municipal Systems Act provide the means of mechanism to communicate. The important dates, as such, the city adhere to the Act, utilize it to communicate with communities and other stakeholders, including the internal structures, who were also encouraged to participate and be afforded the opportunity to make comments, inputs, and write submissions, as required by the law. We feel this integrated development plan of 2022-2024 as council, we are putting input, implementation action on this team of the executive mayor, the review 2023-2024 integrated development plans and the correspondence of medium-term revenue and expenditure framework will continue to serve striding plans since the beginning of this term of previous influenced by the city strategic development priorities. The city has since defined the priorities to define development objectives to advance the goals of achieving the set target by the municipality. We remain committed to the following: spatial transformation, economic growth. We know that communities have encouraged us to review our local economic development strategy, which we are going to work towards making sure that we review it, which will couple with the economic development summit as presented by the executive mayor. Since delivering improvement, we know that we have the aging infrastructure. When you look at the budget, there is a sewer refurbishment program. There is also water refurbishment programs, which we are refurbishing currently. The Hamilton pump station is currently operating at 2 valves, but after completion of the project, will be operating at 12 valves, and that will supply the whole Mangaung with our own water, and that will be saving something like 14 million per month for this city. And those are some of the key projects, and also upgrading of massive sport treatment plant, which is the source of our own water Mangaung through the water recycling process. So those are some of the things that we are doing in terms of turning around the aging infrastructure. We want to thank the national team with this, because it was possible with them because they presented this to the National Plenary Ballroom. That is why we afforded an opportunity to have a budget or some funds to deal with this aging infrastructure that you see the spillage is all over. I think the executive mayor is on point that we're going to deal with it because we have now the money to be able to fix these sewer spillages. And also we have a very serious problem, Honorable Speaker, of vandalism of our infrastructure and also theft. We have the problem of table theft, which is costing millions of rents at St. Lake, and also our own infrastructure is being vandalized by our communities, and we are encouraging and calling to all community members to report such act to the nearest police station to make sure that they don't have any interrupted services. We have pump station basically because of theft, and so on and so on. So those are some of the issues that this budget is going to address. But I think that, Madam Speaker, with the content of the integrated development plan, we were influenced by the various activities that took place in the beginning of public participation session over and above. The city was taking into the input and comment by the broader stakeholders in consideration before the finalization of the strategic plan. So now we are really saying that we'll make sure that as IDP performance, we will immediately table the SDIP which we are going to play with the department. So there is no stage where we'll not have an oversight and we'll wait for the quarter to finish. We are they must present the plan to all the councillors to say in this quarter there are 10 projects that are going to be performed, and here are they, and here are the due dates for those projects, so that we speed up service delivery to the community, so that we put more pressure on officials to do their work and take decisions that are making this city to progress. No stage where we are going to wait for a quarter and send council send document to council just for compliance. We'll have, as this council, satisfied ourselves with the implementation and the progress of the proposed project as per the budget presented today. So this is the commitment of the new acting executive mayor to the public of Mangaung, to say we are going to be more hands-on as an approach to make sure that we fulfill community needs and aspiration in strengthening our democracy. So with those words, thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Leach.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before I continue, can we maybe just get clarity? I see that the media team has prepared sound and everything at the table. Would they rather prefer us standing there and addressing the House from there? Or is this okay if we remain at our positions? They can just give us an indication. Is it fine? Okay. In that case, I will then remain here. Madam Speaker, the Democratic Alliance would like to commend the officials for the work done in terms of the annual budget presented before us today. We believe that officials took note of recommendations made with regards to the draft budget and that subsequently a few changes were made. The DA made the following proposals in terms of the budget. With regards to the property rates, we proposed a 0% increase as to the proposed increase of 5.3%. The final budget, however, still indicates a 5.3% tariff increase. Within our recommendations, we argued that residents in effect had two increases during last year, one on tariffs and the other due to the increase within the valuation roll. Although it is not a legislative requirement to not increase tariffs parallel to an increase in the valuation roll, COGTA guidelines clearly specify on the matter, and it has subsequently become the norm and common courtesy throughout municipalities. This line item also forms the biggest part of an owner's account. Thus, should one previously have paid 2,000 Rand per month for property rates, the new amount will now add up to 2,106 Rand per month. In terms of electricity tariffs, the DA indicated that we welcome an increase of 7.99%, but that this was not in line with what was indicated within the block tariffs, and that it furthermore would be much less than what NERSA prescribed. Eskom, on the other hand, will raise an 18.4% tariff increase. Taking these comments into consideration, the Metro has now adjusted the proposed tariff increase to 15.1%. Which is more in line with the above. The increase in revenue on this line item is still only indicated at 7.99%, which is a contradiction to the proposed 15.1%, thus amounting to a discrepancy of 236 million Rand. Revenue losses due to load shedding currently amounts to 85 million Rand, and a further 20 million Rand due to damage to infrastructure. Although these increases are in line with national prescriptions, one should not forget that it is indeed the ANC whom have led us to this disaster and who now is once again expecting the private sector to bail them out. Water was initially indicated at a 12.7% increase in tariffs and a 15.2% increase in revenue, which would have in practice meant that should one's water account currently amount to 1,000 Rand per month, your new account from 1 July would be 1,127 Rand per month. Here the DA also submitted numerous inputs and proposed an 8% increase, as it would be extremely unfair to expect of residents to fund the 470 million Rand in water losses. The Metro subsequently changed the proposed tariff to an average of 9%. On refuse removal, we again proposed a 0% increase. Here we would like to indicate that a 0% increase does not mean that the said department won't receive any money. It simply means that they will not receive more money in terms of revenue as what they did during the last financial year. Furthermore, funding which is needed to acquire fleet would come from the capital budget, which is funded through grants. Our sentiment regarding this line item was influenced by the fact that this is one of the worst performing departments within the Metro. Refuse is not removed on a weekly basis, whilst this department is also the biggest contributor to overspending on overtime. Until such a time that fleet is obtained, properly maintained, an effective and sustainable alternative to overtime is implemented, and refuse is again removed on a weekly basis, it will be absurd to even consider expecting of residents to pay even more for a service which they are currently not receiving. The proposed tariff increase is set at a ridiculous 8%. Sewage or sanitation charges are proposed by the Metro with a 5.7% increase. Within the draft budget, it was proposed at 2.6% increase, while the DA proposed an increase of 4% on the basis that the additional revenue mainly be utilized to tend to continuous sewer blockages. The amount allocated towards sanitation on one's municipal account is much less than property rates, and a larger percentage raised on the amount would not necessarily have such a large impact on one's budget. For example, if your property rates is 2,000 Rand per month, your sanitation would most likely be within 100 to 200 Rand bracket per month. At a 4% increase on 200 Rand amounts to 8 Rand. We further argue that additional revenue through this line item should be allocated to the expenditure on repairs and maintenance. The final proposed increase by the Metro is set at 5.7%. With regards to revenue raised through fines and penalties, the Metro only foresee a 0.9% increase, which amounts to an increase of 275,000 Rand. This while the officials from the Metro Police Department recently won their case and is now off to the Labour Court. One cannot help but wonder how these salaries will be paid, and possibly retroactively as well. This is a clear example of what should have been included within the financial recovery plan, as revenue could sustainably be increased by officials just doing their job. I mean, have you seen the way people drive within the Metro? Not to mention the numerous illegal businesses currently not paying business tariffs while decreasing the property values of their neighbours. The DA suggested a 7% increase, which would have amounted to a final 32 million Rand. The above revenue through tariff funds, the operational budget specifically utilised for the following expenditure. Here the DA also made a number of alternative suggestions. In terms of employee-related costs, we welcome the decrease in overtime with 10 million Rand, but the salary bill remains at an all-time high amounting to 2.45 billion Rand. Expenditure on this line item will increase by 9.13%, totaling to an amount of 204 million Rand. It must be indicated that the salaries of current officials will not be increased by 9%, but that an additional 134 million Rand has been allocated in order to create more positions. The DA has proposed that the increase in expenditure with regards to salaries be in line with what was agreed upon with the unions, and that additional positions not be created, but that the current vacancies already budgeted for be filled. Information received indicated that only 60% of the vacancies within Mangaung are currently filled. Through you, Madam Speaker, Executive Mayor, it is not positions and cadre deployment that deliver services, but rather fit-for-purpose officials whom honour their performance management agreements. The changes to both the macro and microstructure will have a further financial impact on the budget. We sincerely hope, and written proof is still to be submitted to Council, that the relevant approval was obtained and that the prescribed processes followed to change these structures, because if not, it will lead to further irregular and wasteful expenditure. With regards to contracted services, the Metro decreased the amount with 45 million Rand as to the proposed amount of 720 million Rand within the draft budget. To the contrary, the DA suggested that expenditure on contracted services be increased to 820 million Rand, as repairs and maintenance is no longer a separate line item but falls within contracted services. The DA thus allocated 154 million Rand more to service delivery as to the amount of 676 million Rand currently budgeted. A municipality's core responsibility is to deliver services, not only through its capital projects, but especially on a day-to-day basis where infrastructure should be maintained and repairs are needed. History has further proven that the officials lack the resources and, in some cases, the willpower and ability to sustainably deliver basic services, regardless of the fact that they earn salaries which are way above the threshold. We therefore need external independent contractors to, with the necessary resources, equipment and material, gets the job done. Transfers and subsidies are mainly paid to the SPCA, and the DA welcomes the increase of 6.85%, amounting to a total of 398 million. We would also like to thank the SPCA for the dedication on continuous work under very difficult circumstances. Bulk purchases, which mainly speaks to the purchasing of electricity, has increased by 4.7%, amounting to 2.2 billion rand. The DA proposed a 15% increase as it is more in line with the 18.4% increase charged by Eskom. We thus foresee a huge gap within this item, which will most likely be corrected within the adjustment budget. The DA's proposed 15%
30 seconds.
increase on expenditure towards bulk purchases would have amounted to 4.5 billion rand. We have also referred to the collection rate and to the lack of debt collection, Madam Speaker. Unfortunately, I do not have enough time to go through the whole speech, but I would like to make the final comment to state that history has unfortunately proved that an approved budget does not lead to effective and sustainable service delivery. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Nhlapo.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. My colleague has just advised me, I must just say all protocol observed before I risk missing one of our esteemed guests. So indeed, all protocol observed. Madam Speaker, as the African National Congress, we welcome the reviewed IDP for the 2023-2024 financial year. In our manifesto as the African National Congress, we had pledged to listen to and have open channels of communication with the community. We understand that this performance review is informed by our will to adjust our focus and operations as a municipality in order to meet our set targets and objectives. Madam Speaker, it is also common understanding that this performance review has been informed by our IDP meetings which took place in our respective wards, where indeed the residents of Mangaung expressed their inputs, their aspirations, their concerns, and also their dissatisfaction. And we review our performance based on the mandate that they have given us through these processes. Marching on the residents' mandate, the city considered the annual reports for 2021-2022 financial year and its audit outcomes to address some of the challenges that have been highlighted. As the ANC, we also note with great concern the performance reports of the institution in terms of its service delivery and budget implementation. Hence, the need for us to reprioritize our focus and operations in order to meet the needs of our communities. Now, as the African National Congress, we note the strides and the plans that are tabulated in our IDP that are directed towards the city's IDP strategic objectives, which have been mentioned by the previous speakers, which is spatial transformation, economic growth, service delivery improvement, financial health improvement, and organizational strength. Madam Speaker, with the latter said, as the ANC would like to take this opportunity to thank the residents of Mangaung, those that participated in the IDP processes. It is indeed through your inputs, our engagements, voicing your concerns and dissatisfaction that we will indeed realize the ideal of building better communities together. With that being said, Madam Speaker, allow me to qualify the budget that highlighted, and by highlighting its direct alignment with the IDP, which, by the way, Madam Speaker, the very same public participation process that took place in our respective communities, where also members of the other benches, they participated, they attended, they mobilized, and some of them also chaired when Honorable Speaker. Now, firstly, as mentioned, one of our IDP strategic objectives is improving service delivery. Now, with all the community inputs that we have went through, their aspirations, concerns, and dissatisfaction that they have submitted, and bearing in mind the financial constraint that this institution faces, with all due respect, Madam Speaker, as the council, as as leaders of the city, as leaders of society, the prevailing question of the day should be, is this budget speaking to the objective of service delivery? Now, Councillor McKay also just indicated that, I lost his paper now, but I'll remember it. He indicated that the city is experiencing decaying infrastructure, which is true. We're not disputing that. But where we differ is where he says that the IDP, none of anything in the IDP and in the budget is speaking to the needs of the residents of Mangaung. Let me qualify that, Madam Speaker. Firstly, as a resident, you may ask, does this budget prioritize refuse removal in the city? The answer is yes. And you may ask as a resident, what is its position? What is it saying regarding that? 17.7 million has been budgeted for sustainable refuse removal solutions reserved for SMMEs. Additionally, 37.2 million has been allocated for effective fleet management solution. Secondly, as a resident, you may also ask, because this is your budget, may also ask, is this budget addressing the potholes that I face every day on the road? The answer is yes. Come on, members of the other benches, we are on page 6. And then they may also ask, what is it saying regarding this? 30.5 million has been budgeted for maintenance, addressing potholes, re-graveling of streets, and cleaning of stormwater channels. Additionally, 80 million is budgeted for upgrading of roads, including reconstruction. Once again, you may ask as a resident, is this budget addressing the issue of sewer spillages in the city? And the answer is a yes. What is it saying? What has been allocated? 50.9 million has been budgeted towards unblocking and maintenance of sewer reticulation infrastructure, including emptying of pit latrines. Additionally, 68.8 million has also been budgeted for sewer infrastructure. Now, due to time, I'll skip to the spatial transformation objective. Madam Speaker, to date, we may know that most of the time when we have such meetings that discuss the budget, we have members of the other benches that would always say that if it doesn't have land issues, they will not support us. So today, and I know, Madam Speaker, when they say asjigi, I know they mean it. So I hope they will stay true to this as the House notes the following. Number one, the budget has prioritized 59.1 million for completion of Vista Park development. Secondly, the second highest allocation, Madam Speaker, the second highest allocation of this budget is going to upgrading of informal settlement. 280.4 million to be exact. As you Madam Speak. Number three, land and availability of sites is allocated 23 million. Rural development initiatives are allocated 29.8 million, Madam Speaker. I sincerely hope Habano Jig. Lastly, Madam Speaker, as the ANC, we want to take this opportunity to do something that this House usually omits, especially when we are discussing budget matters, and that is to really use this opportunity to also thank the residents of Mangaung that have constantly been paying their the services that has been rendered upon them. In our manifesto as the ANC, we did pledge to deliver services promptly and consistently, and we did pledge to do and be better. With that said, Madam Speaker, as the African National Congress, we support the budget and the reviewed IDP. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Dipole.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Honorable Mayor, Mangaung First Lady, for the first time that we have our First Lady as a guest. Things are done differently this time. Yeah. The mayor would say to the mayor that shame wazam. We can see that you are trying to bring some stability in the metro. I always tell people that the apartheid government released Nelson Mandela 20 years late. We wouldn't be where we are. The question is, are you the mayor 20 years later? Because it seems as if the cancer cannot be cured. Or so, speaking after Asijiki, yes, Asijiki. However, is this budget for administrative, or is it going to be practical? That's the question. Because we can budget for potholes and stuff like that. And if you're not going to close those potholes, this budget is useless. We might as well just throw it in the dustbin. Asijiki. The citizens of Mangaung have been exposed to either living and swimming in pools of feces or living in a trash and rats and insects due to dirty, terrible dilapidation and shockingly inhuman degradation. We are all aware that nothing has been taking place to enhance the city aside from ANC faction wars, since they are only interested in lining their own wallets and maintaining their position of authority at the expense of others. Based on the demands of the Mangaung inhabitants, the budget of the fiscal year is shockingly smaller than the other end. For informal settlement, the budget always has something to say about matters like relating to the poor. But in actual fact, we have nothing to show for it on the ground. There's no single informal settlement which has been formalized. We've gone through other previous budgets. They've been saying a lot, but it seems as if money has been sent back to Treasury in terms of formalizing informal settlement. The question is it for about voting, or is it about the true reflection of what this wants to do? We'll see. Informal, which has been formalized. None in Mangaung is being prioritized. Either if there is like Pomolo, there are no developments or they are going in a small space. The 291 million this year is minimal when compared to Mangaung's 5 zonals, each of which has 1 or 2 informal settlements in need of sewage system, excellent road and other infrastructure. Since Africans make up of a bulk of population in Mangaung, informal settlement should be given first priority. Let's accord our folks the respect they are due. Let us tell you that the 291 should be fully accounted for in the upcoming fiscal year. We are sick of every budget being presented as though it is for the benefit of our people, when in reality it is only for administrative purpose. We want the informal settlement like Matarantleng, Khayelitsha, Hartfall, Munnahalatwi, Mountain View, and many more to come into the light and be well developed. Since the EFF is completely opposed to the land purchase, we suggest that the municipality, there's 40 million that is being budgeted for land purchase. We don't believe in land purchase. So we expropriate land without compensation. The unfortunate part is that, Mr. Mayor, your own comrades tomorrow will be saying he's got a deal with so-and-so. So don't vote for that purchase of that land, because now he's been promised certain millions. So there's 40 million set aside for such purposes in either to identify the unusable land that is safe for the community to remain on the take in order to give people livable sites. The money be used to develop and build good infrastructure for the settlement. Let that money be used for something else. Water and sanitation. In Pomolong Phase 6 and other areas, we already have a few projects in the work. May corruption stay away from these projects. May everything be finished, not just partially finished, and may it all contribute to the municipality's increased trust. And we must also encourage our businessmen. I was passing Limo yesterday. The owner of Limo is busy with it. Is it Namibia on the other side? Yeah. Not only that park, he's doing the roads, even the sewage system on that other side. I told him that this is something he's giving back to the community. That's what we should do in Mangaung. Businessmen must give back to communities. I invite you, Mr. Mayor, and your colleagues to go and see what he's doing there. It shouldn't be because today they are busy with it. He said by Monday he will be finished. Water and sanitation. We have faced a lot of sewage spillage in this municipality. The 187 water projects currently in progress are valued at hundreds of millions of rands. Musselsport, Tabanshu, and many more projects are so crucial that they only require careful monitoring. People in Mangaung are unable to even drink from the taps due to the filthy water that demonstrate how important these projects are. Infrastructure. We have various parks that are inoperable and unfriendly for residents use. We also have a zoo that is no longer discussed or even taken into account when creating the budget. The pools in Mangaung, whose infrastructure is terribly deteriorating and poorly maintained. Rates and taxes. The EFF does not agree to increase of tariffs because of municipalities not giving service to our people. Why must community pay when graveyards, sewage, water leakage, the city is generally dirty? We therefore say, we are on the side of the marginalized and the downtrodden masses of our people. We are aware of big companies, provincial departments not paying what is due to the municipality. Our township are like pig pens. There are numerous dumping grounds since there is no waste collection. In contrast to the ludicrous so-called reclaiming of the city campaign of the ANC cleaning campaign using the banner of the municipality, as the ANC-led municipality does not bother cleaning them. The EFF will do that on their behalf and our campaign of Andri Statan. So we therefore would say the Metro need to change their stand in increasing the tariffs. Well, St. Leg is different matter as a tariff are determined by NERSA and ESCO. The indigents. As the EFF, we asked that the names of those who qualify be made public so that we could identify and prosecute anyone abusing the system of scamming the municipality. Fellow councillors, we don't mind even names we are told that there's a lot of names. Can we have them? We need to
30 seconds, councillor.
We need to check who are on those, even probably councillors, even people from the departments. So we would like to have that bulk of people so that we could scrutinize it and go name by name. Who is this person? So that we know whether they qualify or not. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Thompson.
Honourable Speaker and all protocols observed. I would like to state this on record. The Freedom Front Plus is committed to promote the interests of all residents in Mangaung Metro, regardless of their race, gender or social status. Looking at the proposed budget, it is evident that the ruling party do not have the same interest at heart for the people of Mangaung who trusted them with their votes. We believe that in a democratic society, everyone deserves equal opportunities and access to service delivery to live a quality life. The 2023-24 budget is supposed to highlight the priorities and objectives that the Mangaung Metro is facing for the upcoming year. It is essential that we as Council ensure that every financial decision we make is in the best interest of our residents. The Freedom Front Plus believes that the economic growth and job creation is critical to tackling poverty and addressing the high unemployment rate in our land. Therefore, we as party support any initiatives that will attract new businesses to our municipality and will help create sustainable employment opportunities for our residents. Unfortunately, this does not reflect on the papers in front of me. I will start with the supply chain management policy that still does not allow for Council to fulfill its oversight role. Taking note of the Municipal Manager's report cannot be seen as oversight, but merely a stamp of approval. Furthermore, Council cannot approve costs for any suppliers or contractors only based on the total amount, the preference points, and the supplier name. We as Council simply cannot just take note, for example, that the Metro paid a total of 78,000 Rand for bottled water over a certain period. This is not proper oversight. What did the Metro pay per bottled water? Die probleem is, onreëlmatige spandering moet meer deursigtig wees en die Raad het 'n reg om te weet wat is die kontroles en wat in plek is om onreëlmatighede uit te wys en te voorkom. Of die prosesse word gemanipuleer, of die verskaffers vat kansse om pryse onnodig op te stoot. Furthermore, the Freedom Front Plus rejects the obsessed BEE principles applied to all procurement procedures. BEE is a system that does not uplift any individual on grounded level. It is a black elite empowerment scheme that only benefits the already advantaged elite sphere with the funds earmarked for job creation. Moving on to property rates. Residential property rates are estimated to increase with 5.27%. Although this is in line with the inflation rate, we feel that this increase should not be implemented because residents had to face double increase in 2022 due to the new valuation increases and property rate increases simultaneously. We also suggest that properties that are used for the purpose of trading and game hunting should include under multi-purpose properties when determine the property rates. We as local government cannot change the regulations put in place by the national government, but we can put measurements in place to reduce the heavy financial burden on our businesses. I would like to point out the following faults in our service delivery rates increases. Water. The average water tariff increase on a sliding scale comes down to 7.94%. This average is excessively high, especially in the 16 to 30 kiloliter per month category and the 31 to 60 kiloliter per month category, with an increase of 8 and 9% respectively. The Freedom Front Plus does not approve these tariffs should they be increased on account of demands prescribed by the supplier, in this case Bloem Water. We demand that the executives of Bloem Water present this proposed service level agreement to Council for approval, and thereafter it should be published for public participation as per the prescription of this country before it is finalized. Refuse removal. There is a 7.8 average increase in refuse removal for the properties with a size of 601 to 1,500 square meters that represents the largest part of our rate-paying residents. If you take in consideration that no matter what the size of your property, you are still only allowed 5 refuse bags per week. And in our current state, it is only removed maybe once a month. This increase is unreasonable and not at all in line with the current inflation rate. Sewage. The tariffs for sewage are currently linked to the market value of each property. Currently, a property valued at 1 million rand are occupied by 4 residents will pay the same rates as a property the same value that is occupied with 10 residents and generates more than double the quantity sewage. Dit is wat tans in universiteite gebeur. Huise word omskep vir studentebehuising, maar die eiendom word nie geherseneer nie. The same principle applies to business properties. If the sewage tariffs policy stays as it is, the rebates applicable on property rates should also be applicable on the tariffs for sewage. It is the responsibility of the municipality to ensure that the correct tariffs are levied to each property. On the IDP, deriving from the public participation, it is clear that the budget does not speak to the needs of the rate-paying resident. For example, the IPTN bus project is not a need for residents and will not generate any income to the metro. The allocation of another 158 million rand to the non-operational municipal transport network cannot be justified. Developing parks, a new fence for Bromfisher building, etc. are nice to have, but it is not necessities, and we feel that the budget should be revised in accordance. Residents indicated that sewer, roads and stormwaters, refuse removal, and water and sanitation are their biggest concerns. Less projects should be budgeted for. Rather than having 20 projects and only finishing 1 or 2 is not conducive to progress or development. Grant performance only stand at 30% at this stage, and this is unacceptable. How much funds does the Metro want to return to national government? We must remember that the capital grants are funded by our income tax. That is money that comes back to our residents in the form of grants to improve the lives of tax-paying residents in Mangaung. Every cent that is returned due to underspending is a slap in the face to our taxpayers. The acting mayor asked in a previous meeting that we work together. Honourable Mayor, through you, Speaker, consider the opposition party's comments. Please don't let this budget pass before taking our concerns to heart. The Freedom Front Plus cannot approve this budget. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Caucus Whips, can I please once again ask you, there's a lot of murmuring going around while there's speakers on the floors. Please keep your caucuses in line, please. Councillor Mongale.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm going to sound firstly like a scratch city for purposes of the people of Mangaung. I've already observed protocol. Executive Mayor, I think that you missed an opportunity, but that opportunity is not completely missed. It can still be corrected. You missed an opportunity to dedicate this budget to the people of Mangaung, because they are the ones who voted for us. We were not voted by Gauteng people. We also want to submit that we raise the issue of what discretionary grant of 500,000 per ward to assist ward councillors. I know some of the ward councillors are going to fight me, but when they arrive in their wards, they are going to be told that man was right. That man was right. You should have accepted it and agree with him. That matter should be in the budget, especially in those wards where the budget has not even catered for your needs. On the pie chart that we always see on the finances, the one that shows that how much debt is owed to this municipality, the province and national, they are not coming to the party, and there seems to be no one who is willing to talk to the powers that might be. Whether NCR, National Intervention Team, the executive, none of you are having the guts to tell them that they must pay this municipality what they owe this municipality. Give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. You are not doing that. On the issue of investment summit, your predecessor acting executive mayor promised us that yes, he will provide it, the summit, but the summit never came. On the issue of load shedding, I think the budget should have touched on that matter. Some would argue that it's a national matter. It's not a national matter. It is affecting the people of Mangaung. There must be a plan on renewable energy in trying to mitigate the impact of load shedding. One example is the solar and gas energy. I nearly said nuclear. I remember you can't fix Siwa. How can we give you responsibility to handle nuclear? People are gonna die. Even as councillors, we are gonna die. Now, on cost containment, you know I've been complaining about 18 bodyguards of National Intervention Team. That is not cost containment. That is recklessness. When you visit people in their city, you don't respect their money, you even spend it as you wish. You spend it on your hotels, on your meals, even entertainment, when people are suffering in that community. The issue of school debt, it should also be addressed because the water debt of Bloom Water can also be mitigated by us dealing with issues of helping the schools to be able not to owe the municipality by coming with innovative ways. We have them, we can present them, provided that Section 82 committee sits on finance, so that these matters can be submitted there. The role of national intervention, I don't want to touch it because I'm very embarrassed because when they arrived here I was excited, but I've eaten a humble pie. They have humbled me. I'm no more gonna judge the book by its cover. Mandatory financial recovery plan. Oh, it's a disaster. I don't think we know where we are. They tell us that we are at rescue phase, which is phase 1. I can assure you we are not even yet at phase 1. And this budget is not talking to that. What is our turnaround strategy? How are we going to help this municipality to get out of the red and to be able to function the way it used to function in the previous years? The consequence management of those people who have undermined this budget, there's never been any effort taken against them. There have been reports of MPEC and all that, but nothing has been done. Corruption. Some will say, if there is corruption, why don't you report us to the police? When I report you to the police, you say you are being persecuted. Now, the issue is that there is 100 million that has been lost during the time of acting HOD CDT. That 100 million, there seems to be no one who is willing to trace it. Or is it because it was lost prior to the conference of the ANC? But it needs to be traced. It needs to be traced. The diesel that we have been told that it is disappearing, there must be consequence management to that. There must be investigation, and the culprits must be brought to book. Those who stole diesel. The issue of indigenous policy, I agree with a councillor of EFF
Councillor
that
Mwale.
document.
Sorry, councillors, please. Council Whip, please assist me.
Thank you, Speaker. I will assist. Councillor Mongale, you must not bring things that are not belong to this council. Thank you.
Council Whip, that was not what I was talking about. I'm asking you to assist me with the order in the House, please.
No, thank you, Speaker. The indigent policy needs cleaning. I think it needs to be cleaned because some of the people that are there don't deserve to be there. There should be a means test that is applied to be able to identify such people. And there should also be a data because some of the people who are in the indigent list, yes, they're indigent, but they have qualifications. But when job opportunities comes, they are not being considered. All those issues needs to be taken into consideration. The municipality credit control and debt collection policy, I think we need to revisit it as councillors because the National Cabinet Rep has failed us on that one. The National Intervention Team has failed us on that one. I think as councillors, we must take the baton and try to fix it ourselves because they have come here to come and help us, but they are messing us up. They are not helping us. On the issue of, financial recovery plan, I've addressed it. The issue of supply chain policy. We will never have economic growth in this municipality for as long as our supply chain policy is not in favor of local people. And we need to change our supply chain policy. I know it was withdrawn last time when we were supposed to discuss it. I don't know what was the motive, but it has been brought back now together with the budget. But we need it as a document so that we can panel beat it. It must be able to address the issue of jobs for Mangaung people, tenders for Mangaung people, even suppliers must be Mangaung people. Even sponsorship that are given to people must be for Mangaung people. It is Mangaung municipality. We should not apologize for that. The issue of tariffs, we have been raising it that our tariffs are way out of line. They have not been properly thought of. I think what has been done year after year, it was just a religious approach to say, let's increase it by 5%, let's increase it by 5%, but no one has ever looked at the GDP. No one has ever looked at the economic conditions of the people of Mangaung. And that is where we have left them behind, and when they default, we complain. While the problem it is us who are not making it easy for them to keep up with the pace of us increasing the tariffs. Some of the tariffs are increased to make up for corruption, which is the money that is lost that cannot be recovered. On the issue of Sentlek, Sentlek has got a training center that has been accredited as an institute of service excellence long ago. But that institution is not working to the benefit of the people of Mangaung. Because by now, Sentlek should be training not only electrical people, it should be training mechanical, plumbing, and all other fields because they've been given that authority by the relevant SETA. And there seems to be no partnership between the SETA and Sentlek because there should be partnership between at least 3 SETAs with Sentlek. The energy SETA, the MER SETA, and local government SETA, where they make a partnership on how they can be able to help in terms of skilling young people so that they can be able to be employable. And if we don't come up with such plans, we'll always sit with a crisis where our people are always looking for a job, but they cannot find a job anywhere else because the argument that is being done lately, it is not that the people are not, there are no job opportunities. The argument is being said that they are not employable. It means their qualifications are not relevant to what the market needs. And for that to be done or mitigated, Sentlek is central to that campaign. And I'm raising this because this is part of the jobs that is the duty of this municipality to make sure that institutions like Sentlek works to the benefit of the people of Mangaung, as well as that fresh produce market. It must be used in such a way that it helps our people of Mangaung to be able to access those vegetables, and those people who are selling in the township, there must be a mitigation on how do we cut their cost in a way that will make them at least to sell those vegetables at a price that will not be costly to the consumers, or that will not make them to stay too long on their shelves because people are unable to buy because of the price. All these issues can only be done by a willing municipality that has love for his people. We have been accused of not loving the people of Mangaung. We love them more than you. We love them more than you. We can take this council to the township and have it in Kailicha and say, let's have a council there with a tent, marquee, and we call community.
Sorry, Councillor Mongole, time.
Okay, we call community and we hear, what will community say? Who are going to ask bodyguards to leave that place? Because we'll not ask bodyguards, because we'll be side by side with the community. Because they love us, because they say we are on their side. Lastly, Speaker, we believe that there should be a tariff imbizo, Speaker. There should be a tariff imbizo in Mangaung for the sake of the people of Mangaung. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Pupa.
Honorable Speaker, thank you so much. The Executive Mayor, Council Whip, Honorable Councillors Dumela, Meme Gimkozwa Molo. Speaker, the public participation is no longer done, where community members are given an opportunity to prioritize their needs. Ward 8, where I'm staying, is one of those wards. Our concern as Patriotic Alliance is that this council is imposing the budget to the community of Mangaung. We are now sitting in this August House saying this is the people's budget, when we know the voice of the same people that we pretend to love and care never heard. Motsamaisi wa dipuisano, baahi ba Kailicha ba ntse ba dula pela open canal ho tloha ka 2013. Ha pula ena di-pampers di kena ka mekhukhung ya bona. Infrastructure ya rona e maemong a sa kgotsofatseng haholo. Batho ba Grassland Phase 2 ba dula ka hara metsi, ba kga metsi ka diemere ha pula ena hobane there is no proper stormwater drainage system mo. Baahi ba Hartfall are forgotten. Re tla ba hopola hore ba teng, hore ba hloka ditshebeletso ha re atamela dikgetho hobane mokgwa rona re jwalo. Madam Speaker, budget ya 2022-2023 re fetisitse ha wa etsahala letho. Seo re se bonang ke metsi a nwang a tletseng hohle mona, dipeipi tse dutlang tse sa lokisweng, sewage e tletseng distrata, ho nkga masepa fela hohle ka hara Mangaung. Di-pothole tsona ha ke sa bua ka tsona hobane ke mabitla, empa re dula re fetisa budget. Batho ba Mangaung ba hloka ditshebeletso, ba bang ha bana motlakase, ho senyehile hohle mona Mangaung, ha ona ntho e lokang. Molemo wa hore re fetise budget ke ofe? When we all know that it will never be implemented, kapa se re etsa yona fela compliance. Motsamaisi wa dipuisano, budget ena hobane re entse ebile re dula re di etsa, ha ona mo teng re nkela maikutlo a setjhaba hlohong. Gona re le Patriotic Alliance re ngongoreiswa ke hore ha re atla mona hobane re tlile fela. Re tlile mona hobane re tseba seboko sa baahi ba Mangaung. Ke a leboha.
Thank you, Councillor. I guess you could have spoken a bit longer, Councillor Mongole, because Councillor Pupa used a lot less of her time. Councillor Rampai.
Thank you, Motsamaisi wa dipuisano. Ke dumela today because now the first lady is in the house, ke ka ho re tshwere. Thank you, Nobe Tenka Michale Mich. And secondly, because we are here, the promise has been said more about the zoo. We will be happy as the ACDP if the legacy of Mangaung can come back. So we are tired to Riebo, Johannesburg Zoo, lo shebella ditshwenete. So re di batla mona. Madam Speaker, first let me give the young people of our country the credit of what they did in 1976. We believe this budget gives young graduates hope because it is the young people who went door to door to campaign for us, and we neglected them, Madam Speaker. PEP and EPWP is not a situation, it's not a solution for our young people. They need a serious and decent job. I remember, Madam Speaker, on the social media, is saying, let's swap the job. Let's give them the decent job. Madam Speaker, firstly, there are 40% attended to water leakage. Millions of liters of water are wasted every day, and the council already struggling to pay Bloom Water. System must be put in place to ensure that water leaks receive prompt attention, and the HCDP would like typically to see action against officials who do not act. Madam Speaker, all over is a serious spillage. Our children are now literally swimming or playing in the waste of human waste as a way of life. It is really the legacy that we want to leave for our children. It is not enough anymore to point the finger to this or that cause of the spillages. We must begin to see action and stop the endless talk without any fruits. Thirdly, Madam Speaker, in the metro, what steps have been taken to prevent the theft of cables, and what action that are in places of manage to this problem? The ACDP did not see any premeditated plans in this. Madam Speaker, without the regular and sustainable income, there will be no insufficient cash flow for the day-to-day needs of the metro. All the projects that we see look very nice on paper. How? But now on earth, how we are going to reach those income figures? We need to start doing things differently if we want to start seeing results. Madam Speaker, I conclude with a quote from our Member of Parliament, Dr. Marie Sukers, who said yesterday, "Among our greatest assets in this nation is not the minerals in our ground, nor the wealth we hold in our in our vaults. It is the arrow in our quiver that we can shoot in the future, which is the youth. Our youth is a reflection of hope. In this regard, our continent, Africa, and country of South Africa are rich in this asset. When we reflect on the struggle for our democracy, the role of the youth and the ability of leaders to inspire a generation are the key elements when reflecting on it. In Mangaung, we don't see many supporting projects to empower our youth. I propose that in Mangaung, Madam Speaker, the project must be implemented so that we can support the youth. Madam Speaker, because it's the youth month, this budget, but on the entire thing, Madam Speaker, none of the young people have been mentioned. We hope if they are going to implement this budget, Madam Speaker, all our graduates, our young people will benefit in this budget. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Some more time for you, Councillor Mwale. Councillor Kwai.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, the Acting Executive Mayor, the Speaker of Council, the Acting Whip of Council, the Mayoral
Speaker,
Committee.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker, ne re kopa Honorable Qai a hlomphe ntlo e re leng ka ho yona a role katiba. Ke a leboha.
Honorable Councillors, the senior management of the city, and the National Intervention Team, the leaders of business, labor, civil society, members of the media, distinguished guests, fellow resident of Mangaung, Dumelang, Molweni. Madam Speaker, it is a great honor and humility that I stand before you, colleagues, on behalf of the AIC. Madam Speaker, allow me first to quote the Marxist, agricultural, economist, and revolutionary Amil Cabral, who said, I quote, "An obligation of all revolutionaries to tell no lies and claim no easy victory," close quote. We shall therefore not tell lies and claim easy victory. Honorable Speaker, a budget demands that back to basis and present the background and the context of what the city of Mangaung is and what its needs are and what is to be done in the immediate. I will touch few, Madam Speaker. The city of Mangaung is a home of 787,803, comprises of the 265,561 households. Today, Mangaung comprises of 7 towns, which is Bloemfontein, Botshabelo, Duversdorp, Soutpani, Tabanshu, Van Disteras, and Wepener. The main economic sectors are community services, which is 35.3%, finance 26.8%, trade 16%, transport 11.8%, and manufacturing is 3.5%. Madam Speaker, the budget is supposed to be informed by the revised Integrated Development Plan, the IDP, which are demands of people who were supposed to be consulted. The budget should not be a product of some high-level round of table discussion and of allied, but the product of response to demands, interest, and aspiration of our people. Madam Speaker, this budget should reflect on what has been the demand of the people through an IDP consultative period. In attendance of the budget, Madam Speaker, it was mentioned by the NCR that all what must be accommodated by this budget in order for it to be funded. Still in that Lekgotla, it was also mentioned that enforcement of bylaws imperative, time frame to resume the operation of the zoo, formalizing the informal settlement, eliminate the bucket system toilet in the city, fix all speed traps not only to generate funds, but to promote good driving and respecting the road signs. Increase our collections from those who owe the city. Madam Speaker, previously we said as the AIC we need to reduce the tariffs and prioritize upgrading of roads and infrastructure. On that one, Madam Speaker, I must say we also recognize the effort made by the executive mayor of trying to close the potholes around the city. In closing, Madam Speaker, the people of Mangaung didn't vote for nice slogans and logos of the political parties, but they voted for better services. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Twala.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Acting Executive Mayor, Provincial Government Leadership, Acting Council Whip, the National Intervention Team, esteemed guests, and the council at large. It is an honor that today we get an opportunity to be part of the table into this August House, a budget for financial year 2023-2024. There has been a great challenge within the municipality with regards to agricultural livestock roaming around and within residential areas. The African Transformation Movement has a great concern and will to attend to these needs. Therefore, the budget and plans being tabled today must also aim to address the above. In 2022-2023 budget, the Rural Development Department was allocated merely 2 million. However, looking at the plans of the department, an estimated amount of at least 12 million would be appropriate for the financial year of 2023-2024. This estimated amount will play a vital role in addressing and will play a vital role in terms of resolving this issue of roaming animals and provide for a municipal pound that will assist with the removal of these roaming animals in our township. In this financial year, the Rural Development Department will continue to assist in agricultural infrastructure such as fencing of farms, pig farming unit, municipal pound, groundwater augmentation, and relocation of livestock. The 2023-2024 budget allocation will thus enable us to continue the journey of our mission. With that said, Madam Speaker, the African Transformation Movement being in support of this budget, it should be clearly noted that the needs of the community of Mangaung must be given preference and making sure that their livelihoods are well addressed. We also encourage intense practice of IDP public participation and implementation thereof. Through you, Madam Speaker, to the acting executive mayor, you are one gentleman who always preaches unity and working together to overcome challenges. The ATM would like to implore on you, Honorable Sir, to practice what you preach and allow all political parties to partake in making sure that this budget is properly implemented and brings positive outcomes. And in conclusion, Madam Speaker, we are certain that working together and improving the rural development in Mangaung will sustain the relationship between the municipality and community development. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Letowana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and acting executive mayor, acting chief whip, and acting premier, and let me also say all protocol observed. It is the take of the African National Congress that Mangaung Metropolitan Municipality must be rebuilt, repurposed, and be taken back as an instrument to better the life of the people. It is for this reason, Madam Speaker, that I had to borrow the remarks attributed to Karl Marx, and that says, I quote, "History repeats itself first as a tragedy and second as a farce." Today, as the African National Congress, we want to assure the community of Mangaung that we are on course to rebuild our beautiful city. The age of instability, the cold period of indecisiveness, and political quagmire will no longer be theatrics, which the new administration, led by the acting executive mayor and the entire collective of this council, will permit to continue. The budget which we today support as the African National Congress is a season of hope. We seek through this people-centered spending plan to stabilize our city, accelerate service delivery, and repurpose this instrument of the people, our metro, as a center of service excellence. The ANC, let me just borrow again, the ANC Provincial Secretary, Comrade Pulediso Motshweneng, at the recent Provincial ANC Lekgotla, commanded all deployees of the ANC and reminded them that there is no time to waste time. We must work with the required agility and speed. And it's for this reason that indeed there is no time to waste time, council members. This council was installed following the 1st of November 2021 elections. The year 2023 will mark a full 2 years of the term of this council, a term which had not been a smooth ride, and today we must not fail our people. We expect all of us as public representatives to deliver on the mandate they gave us almost 2 years ago. This people-centered budget is crucial to a determination to solve service delivery issues of this metro. We must work to ensure that every little cent counts and that in all our commitments, we are able to extract value. For this budget for the budget we must spend, and that our entire Mangaung community benefit from all the municipal programs, which this budget must make possible. We will, as the African National Congress, ensure that steps are taken to ensure that within the term of this council, we are able to report back to our communities and give them a thriving municipality. And through this budget and the successive budget for each and every financial year, we will build those blocks to help us realize this ultimate objective, which is a functional metropolitan municipality. We will take a few moments to summon from the grave of the great patriot, Amika Cabral, for further illustrate the task at hand for all of us as a council to ensure that this budget is duly adopted and is passed by all of us. On behalf, I repeat again, Speaker, of the people of Mangaung. And today, council members, we must recommit to rid ourselves of the shadows of the past. Repurpose our focus to combat the material reality of the municipality, which is incapable of running its own affairs and not self-sustainable. All of us, as different political parties, through this budget, we must strive to ensure that we put Mangaung community first, we deliver quality services to them. And again, let me borrow from Amika Cabral by quoting his words. Do not confuse the reality you live in with the ideas you have in head. We ought not to confuse our reality we live in, which includes concerned residents who wants the following: their refuse to be collected at all times, their electricity to be on at all material times, our roads to be rid of potholes, and infrastructure projects and programs to be completed on time. These are some of the issues that our people are interested in. And it's for the purpose of this budget table today that we seek to address this. Madam Speaker, the struggle is a daily action against ourselves and against the enemy. For the next 3 remaining financial years, we will be faced with the struggle as this council against ourselves as different political parties. Our votes as political representatives will be pitted against each other in our genuine efforts to build this metropolitan municipality for the better. We don't have luxury anymore to fight like enemies who don't want to live in a city which is thriving, a city whose people want to better life for themselves. There is no time to waste time. The ANC in its election manifesto, let me also indicate that it has committed to build better communities together. We have no illusion about it that at the center of everything we are doing as the African National Congress-led municipality, put our people first. In his address, if I may also refer to, Madam Speaker, the first assembly of Organization of African Unity, which was signaled the history, victory, and symbolic achievement of a continent which had been liberated from colonial and white minority rule, former President Nelson Mandela declared the Carthage must be rebuilt, a city that was destroyed by the Romans. It was destroyed following the great African military leader and commander-in-chief Hannibal, who invaded European Rome and almost brought it to the brink of total defeat during the Punic Wars. President Mandela then made his address at Tunis, the capital city of Tunisia, which historians have recorded as is the original of the Carthage. In his speech, President Mandela said, and I quote, "In the distant days of antiquity, a Roman sentenced this African city to death, saying, Catharo Lendala, Cafaro Dilenda est," which then says that, translated as meaning that the Carthage must be destroyed, and indeed Carthage was destroyed by Rome. When concluding this remark in Tunis, the former president said, "We are certain that you will prevail over the currents and originate from the past, and ensure that the interregnum of humanitarian symbolized by, among others, the destruction of Carthage is indeed consigned to the past, never to return again."
30 seconds, Councillor.
It is for this reason, Madam Speaker, that as the ANC deploys in the ANC-led municipality, remembering the pledge we took before assuming this responsibility as public representative on behalf of the movement, we want to commit again to building better communities together. And as the ANC, we indeed support the adoption and passing of this budget. I thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Peter.
Mandibulele Somlomo, also acting executive mayor, councillors, NCR, our distinguished guest, and community of Mangaung. Speaker, we are tabling this budget today as prescribed by the FMA calendar. So even if we are doing so, you will notice that we are still under administration. And while we are still under administration, we are led and guided by the National Cabinet representative or team. And moreover, you should also notice that there are a number of findings from the Auditor General that will necessarily say, even if when we prepare our budget, there were a number of considerations also that we needed to take into account. I'm raising this, Speaker. We are not immune in terms of tabling this budget. We are a very small municipality with a population of around about 745,000 people. But when you look at the city of Johannesburg, which just recently tabled their budget yesterday, they tabled the budget of this magnitude that we call the conservative budget at the 87% total revenue collection, precisely for one reason only. There are a number of issues that might look similar with Mangaung, yet they are a bigger metro. So now I'm raising these issues so that at least when I'm trying to give you the gist of our budget, how it was prepared, you get to understand exactly what informed this. I also need to indicate as well, Speaker, that while we were preparing this budget, the previous speakers have indicated that we have prepared this budget at 82% revenue collection as opposed to 90 plus as required by National Treasury and so forth. But leading to this, you must understand that there were processes that we undertook. That is your IDP process, your public participation, because you can't divorce the two. We can't have our budget before these processes. So these two processes are intertwined, so they go together. So you need to know that as well. Now I must indicate that, Speaker, while we are doing this, we also got an assessment from the National Treasury together with the National Cabinet team to say, at least your budget is credible, is funded, and can be sustainable. I'm raising this because this is the institution that is assisting us, that is leading us, the National Intervention Team. So at no stage will do any other process without the involvement or the advice of them. I'm beginning to bring a concept here to say, as much as the other fellow councillors from the bench, like my previous councillor said, they begin to lambast the budget, but they too should take into cognizance that we couldn't have done this budget without the advice of National Treasury as well as the NCR. Hence, we are saying, based on the assessment, they then gave us a go-ahead to say that your budget is funded. And I must also indicate, as in the speaker, that we couldn't have been here with this funded budget if the National Treasury didn't identify three aspects in our budget, which is precisely the collection on electricity, the property rates, as well as water. Because those are the three main factors that informed our budget. Over and above, Speaker, we should also indicate that we are not running away from the issues that were raised, that there were a number of issues that were highlighted in terms of saying they were not covered in the budget. Yes, we accept that, but you must understand that your budget cannot holistically cover everything. There will be some elements that might be compromised, not necessarily because you want to do that, but because we are working within a certain budget parameters. So either way, you have to cut some. I'll make an example. Our previously tabled adjustment budget was way higher than this one, but the current one has been reduced with 120 million, combined both Centlega and the municipality. So I'm raising this to just bring this close to you, Speaker. Let me just be quick and try to address certain few issues here, Speaker. I thought our colleagues here will understand that when we are doing our budget, precisely that 2 or 3 issues that we look at, our sources of income or revenue, which is your rates, your borrowing and grants. I thought they will speak to that, so that when they say this budget is not addressing that, we'll have at least try to extrapolate and break down those issues to inform our budget. If we don't deal with those 3 issues, definitely then we will say that our budget is not yet funded or is doubtful. And also I must indicate, Speaker, that I'm raising this for the fact that we have highlighted previously that we have a whole room that is dedicated specifically to address certain issues that were not captured or that were of an issue from the Auditor General from our previous budget, including this current one. So as a result of that, I don't see a reason why we are not able to pass this budget because it has undergone those processes. I'll cite an example. When you deal with issues of debt collection and billing, those are most of the other issues that are critical in terms of your budget. And I suggest and I believe that in this budget there's been catered, because if you look there and check there, we have allocated a number of money for the revenue and financial enhancement strategy, which speaks to that precisely. And I must indicate, Speaker, that that's not the only issue. We have also said we need to look at our debtors book, because when you look at your debtors book, it speaks to many issues there in the budget. To say you might have some other debts that are very irrecoverable. Others, you find that the accounts are not there completely and so forth. These are the issues that informs your budget when you work around that. So, Speaker, moreover, I must also indicate that there are a number of issues that have been raised with regard to this budget that I want to respond to, if you allow me. The very same councillors we were here not long ago, whereby we passed some certain important legislations, policies, and so forth, that actually has informed this budget. I'll cite an example. Not long ago in this council, we brought the supply chain policy that informed this budget, whereby we changed regulation 4 and 5, which exactly speaks to what my current colleague is saying, to say that our budget or our supply chain policy is not catering the people of Mangaung. That's not correct. We must not have an amnesia. We must go back when we come to council and recap, so that when we come here, we're able to inform the community. That's not proper. Those 2 regulations that have been changed, they're addressing exactly what we have raised. So it cannot be proper. The issue of Vista Park development, which is 2 and 3, that issue was approved between 2015 and 16. There's no way that that issue never went to Section 8. It did went to Section 8. That's why that particular area has been funded. And also now it's getting 59.1 million so that it can continue. Secondly, I must indicate, Speaker, I'm saying this because I need to clear some ambiguity here. We cannot say we are going to incur another 134.8 million on operational cost, especially on salaries. Yet we are the very same people who are sitting here and saying that our overtime payment is way high. But when you go back to the Auditor General's findings, they said one of the reasons your overtime is very high is because you are not appointing. The very same council had a moratorium. It was uplifted. Hence, we are having this item here on the agenda, precisely to cap and address that issue. So there's no way that we must not confuse these issues. We must be honest when we talk to the people of Mangaung. Because if you begin to be selective on issues on the budget, then you are misleading people. We must be honest. We are here because we have even raised issues for a number of months to say that we got sewer spillages across the entire city, and that must be addressed. Last week, we approved an adjustment budget whereby we allocated 80 million specifically for sewer networks. Today we come again, we have increased that money for the next ensuing financial year. But it is deemed as if it's not a correct budget. It cannot be proper. Exactly what kind of budget should we approve? That will speak to your needs. I've indicated earlier on, Speaker, that we cannot divorce the two. Your public participation and the process of the budget goes hand in hand. The issues that have been kept at the council priorities, they emanate from all the public hearings or meetings that we had with the communities. That informed this
30
budget.
seconds, Councillor.
Now, the other issue, Speaker, that I must say, every time we are here in council, we begin to be very, very defensive as councillors sitting on the other bench. We are not being realistic. All these items that are listed in page 6 of 211 of the MTRF exactly speaks to what we've been raised. The issue of ESCOM and Centlec and Blue Motor is being addressed here because it's been a thorny issue. As we speak currently, we have developed a team that is working with Blue Motor to precisely address this matter. So I'm saying, Speaker, in closing, I'm saying, Speaker, this budget is credible, and as the ANC, we support it. It's gonna be approved.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor van der Walt.
Thank you, Speaker. Die DA betuig meegevoel met die familie van Dustin Kukari, wie se liggaam by die Withdrawal quarry gekry is. Then, Speaker, before I start my speech, I want to say that the Mayor was referring to the ease of doing business index. Mr. Mayor, the cranes, you don't see any cranes. You never see any cranes in Mangaung. There's no ease of doing business in Mangaung. Business is dying. Business is being chased away. One way that was done in the policies, which I'll touch on later, is the removal of township development property from the categories of properties that qualify for reductions. This will just discourage people to do township development. Then, Speaker, the IDP and budget should be the most impactful document that shapes the future of the city. That is why there are strict legislated processes aimed at allowing every stakeholder in the city a chance to understand, influence and improve on any part of the plans the city has. Council, under your leadership, Mr. Mayor, and guided by the collective wisdom of all internal and external stakeholders, should show the way, and the administration must then lead us towards that shared better future for our city. However, there is much that can still be improved in this process. For example, the Mangaung policies are still not accompanied by a policies amendment register like Centec has been doing, which makes it unlikely for the average residents to even know what changes are proposed. Another change I picked up in the credit control and debt collection, a proposal from the DA in the credit control and debt collection policy is in clause 22. The DA proposed the removal of the government debt from those exempted from handover in debt collection processes. The government should also be handed over. Then going to the SDF, a well-developed spatial development framework is integral to the promotion of development in the municipality by giving certainty and ensuring all buy-in by all stakeholders for the spatial proposals that the municipality undertake. In 2021, a process to compile a new legally compliant SDF was undertaken, costing millions of rands, and the product was gazetted as required. Any further amendments need to be done in line with legislation. The 2022 and 2023 amendments, SDFs with their amendments, which were not done in compliance to the requirements of the Spluma Act, were seemingly done on an ad hoc basis by single officials without any internal or external consultation. And this places the entire process and built environment in Mangaung in jeopardy once again. As an example, Section 20, subsection 2 of Spluma clearly requires that the intention to amend any SDF must be published in the Government Gazette, giving 60 days for the public to comment, after which these comments must be considered. The draft amended SDF was only published on the website together with the IDP without any schedule of amendments on the 2nd of May 2023. Thus, the 60 days has not passed yet. This review process was not gazetted, therefore the process and the product table today is null and void. The only valid SDF is the one published in the Government Gazette after Council approval in 2021. I have warned the the Mayor, and the HOD of this gross financial mismanagement, and will have to report it to Treasury and Rural Development. This ad hoc secret amendment of the SDF means not only millions, the millions spent on the compilation of the SDF was fruitless and wasteful spending, but it also commits Mangaung to provide an unknown amount of billions in bulk infrastructure and services without any feasibility study or master plans. You have now successfully moved us back to where we were before 2016, when a single official sat in a smoke-filled room and drawing points on a map that could instantly bankrupt their enemies while making their friends millionaires without any rational reasons. As for the IDP, Mr. Mayor, I urge you to embrace the whole of society approach. The DA has been calling for the restoration of the IDP Representative Forum, which will continually bring together most of the important stakeholders to honestly discuss where we are as a city, find our shared interests, resolve conflicts between interests, and find the best solutions and bring together the collective mind of the city to craft a single vision for the future of our city that all stakeholders buy into and commit to, and craft a clear strategy on how to get there, and have a clear and focused indicators of progress, timelines, and budgets. The last time this was attempted was before 2014 when I became a councillor. There are clear guidelines on this structure. You have the opportunity to again implement meaningful inclusion of the public in decision making, instead of tokenism and tick box exercises that we currently have. The first 50 days of the mayor, acting executive mayor, you have now been 50 days in office. Although there have been isolated glimmers of hope, which I had to remove from my speech, I wanted to mention one or two. The first 50 days have not yielded the results any resident or councillor would have wanted to see, as was witnessed in the intervention progress report in the previous meeting. The DA wants nothing more than seeing you to succeed and turn our city around within the next 50 days. Thus, I hope the Mayor will heed the advice and work with Council and communities to make the next 50 days count and go down in history as the most impactful 50 days Mangaung experienced in the turnaround of the city. However, in the current crisis with severe financial difficulties, demotivated staff and severe capacity constraints, much more is needed to convince myself and the residents that you are here to serve our city and our citizens. So what can you do to make your first 100 days impactful? Through you, Madam Speaker, Mr. Mayor, if you want support from civil society, you need to commit to open and transparent and inclusive processes, whether it's the SDF, the budget or supply chain management bid committees, making available service level agreements or open access to MICO and committee meetings and their minutes. This also includes the urgent need for committees to sit regularly and performance agreements with each of your MMCs with key deliverables and timeframes. In general, you need to ensure the municipality becomes a beacon of transparency and openness and accountability. You need to embrace the collective wisdom and collaborative spirit of the city through a functional, effective IDP representative forum. You need to ensure discipline and accountability becomes a given and ensure that hard-working and committed workers are valued and supported. You need to instill a culture of service delivery excellence and responsiveness. In 50 days, you can eradicate potholes, renew road markings and signage, which you didn't budget for, clear our public spaces and streets, increase frequency and quality of refuse removal, ensure fair and impactful EPWP processes, eradicate development backlogs such as the clearance certificates and water and electricity connection applications, divert idle workers who don't have the tools they need to do their job to other productive tasks. You can prioritize and monitor the successful implementation of crucial waste projects such as the closure of the northern landfill site and the development of the regional waste facility, recycling and composting, and the procurement of fleet. You can find vehicles that can be used for law enforcement who don't have any vehicles at the moment, Mr. Mayor, to keep our infrastructure and residents safe and improve community safety and ensure our CCTV cameras are functioning and monitored. You can stop ideological statements and actions that is pushing away existing businesses and possible investments. You can ensure that a functioning council is not disrupted by factions or political interests. You can make sure that there is a fair and functioning disciplinary board. You can ensure that there is good governance by stopping cadre deployment and appointing on merit. You can ensure the LLF functions to serve the municipality and its residents, not political factions or parties, or the careers of specific staff
30
members.
seconds, Councillor.
Thank you. You can improve the collaboration between the administration and civil society by working with and supporting neighbourhood watches, CPFs and security companies. You can require any student house that applies for consent to be a member of a neighbourhood association or a self-governing body that actively contributes to the improvement of the community it functions in, such as in Universitas and Brandwacht, there is an association like that. You can work with communities to find and support local short-term solutions to failures in waste removal. As an example, the communities of Universitas and Universitas Reach have collaborated for 2 months when no waste was collected by placing massive bins in strategic locations and asking...
Councillor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Shirley.
Thank you, Speaker. Dumedise, former Chief Whip Ntate Mangaung kgotsa o sa nyametse. Honorable Speaker, re le caucus economic freedom fighter, re hlokometse hore ha e le setjhaba sa Mangaung sona se le itse le tla bapala ka sona ho fihlela Jesu a tla jwalo ka puo ya lona ka mehla hore le tla busa ho fihlela Jesu a tla ene re nke le jwetse o sa fihlile ho tswa polloro. Honorable Speaker, ke maswabi le ho utlwela setjhaba sa Mangaung bohloko ka ho dula se voutela ANC ka mehla. Ka mehla budget e tswa selemo le selemo empa ha e etse mosebetsi o tlamehileng ho e etse. E ya diphokotong tsa batho empa setjhaba se tlohela budget e tswileng lemo tse fetileng. Ke sa bui ka ho fihlileng le selemo tse fihlileng e kae e entseng kae. Speaker, ra bona pampiring hore budget ke bokae le hore le lo etsa eng kae empa e le puo kapa yona paper fela. Re kgathetse ke boshodu bo bokana masepala o putlame ka baka la corruption e etsahalang ka hara ona empa ho sena letho le etsahalang ka ditsotsi tse utswang tjhelete ya setjhaba. Honorable Speaker, ke maswabi ho bona di-resources tsa masepala di sebediswa bohlaswa ho campaigna di-by-election tse teng ka hara Mangaung. Speaker, dilemo tse tsheletseng tse fetileng ka hara Thabanchu Ward 49 Mokoena e sa le setjhaba se lla ka tsela e hlokisang boroko ba dula ka hara metsi. Today ya lokiswa empa se ke se bonang e ka re ke morita o ke fela. Re a di-by-electioneng se hlokehang moo ke storm water kapa dikotopo. Ke bona le senya tsela le ho feta kapa kapa ke pente e le reng le ka leka ho etsa moo hore le lokise tsela. Honorable Speaker, ditsela tsa rona ha e sa le tsona ke diphulu fela le di-pothole di sa le ka kwano. Ho tsohle tseo re di kopetseng setjhaba sa Ward 49 ha eyo budgeteng ya 2023 and 2024 kapa ke hore ne le lomeletsa councillor Moqolo. No, ne le lomeletsa yona community ya Ward 49 e today le tlo batla e le voutela. I thank you. We are not supporting this IDP budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Forster.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. All protocols observed. It is with great concern to the Freedom Front Plus that the internal fighting within the ANC government in Mangaung the past year yet again resulted in a poorly drafted, unrealistic and unfunded budget for the 2023-2024 financial year. The budget-making process was clearly not a priority for the ANC government. But same can be expected when the Metro failed to appoint permanent HODs. We had 2 acting chief financial officers and 2 acting municipal managers in the past financial year with no permanent appointments in sight. The Metro was without the executive mayor and MMCs for months, and the National Cabinet representative still did not provide this Metro with a financial recovery plan. The Metro did not comply with Chapter 4 of the Municipal Systems Act and Section 23 of the Municipal Finance Management Act with regards to public participation, and the community inputs were not tabled before this Council for consideration. The budget further does not comply with Section 17 of the Municipal Finance Act, read together with Section 1 and 76 of the Systems Act, seeing that the service level agreement with Bloemwater does not form part of the budget before Council. It is highly unlikely that a projected operating revenue of 9.31 billion rand will be reached. The revenue projection is based on an unrealistic collection rate of 82%. Also keep in mind that when tariffs are increased, some taxpayers will not be able to afford to pay their accounts, and others will only be able to afford to pay part of their accounts resulting in a further decrease in the operating revenue. The pre-audited outcome for the total operating revenue for the current financial year is 10.9% less than the original projection. If this trend continues in the next financial year, the projected operating revenue should only be around 8.29 billion rand, just over 1 billion rand less than projected. This will ultimately result in a deficit of 334 million rand and not a surplus of 685 billion rand as projected. The water revenue is projected at 1.84 billion rand, and the expenditure for water is projected for 2.11 billion rand. This means that the Metro will make no profit on water revenue, but will suffer a loss of 270 million rand. To put this in perspective, the projected revenue for refuse amounts to 184 million rand, which is not even enough to cover these losses. How can a budget be funded if some revenue votes cannot even cover their own expenses? The budget clearly indicates that the high levels of water and electricity losses due to aging infrastructure, illegal connections, and tampering with meters is one of the main service delivery pressures. It seems that the administration is very reluctant to resolve these service delivery problems. The Freedom from Plus alone received only 40 complaints in the past 6 months from tax-paying citizens, which are still not unresolved, that faulty water meters were removed and still not replaced by new meters, resulting in these households not being billed for water consumption at this moment. Maybe the Department of Public Safety and Security, that will cost the Metro an estimated 332 million rand in the next financial year, can assist to combat these illegal connections and tampering with meters, and in the same time increase the projected revenue for fines and penalties that only stands at 30 million rand. The debtors balance as on 28 February 2023 amounts to 9.5 billion rand, and the growing government debt is of great concern. Funds should have been allocated in this budget for the free installation of prepaid water meters to secure our water revenue. The total operating expenditure amounts to 8.62 billion rand. However, overtime is yet again sugar-coated by indicating that same was reduced to affordable level of 79.45 million rand. Honourable Executive Mayor, through you, Honourable Speaker, this is the reality. The same was indicated in the current budget. 80 million rand was approved for overtime in this financial year. This amount was increased to 92 million rand in the adjustment budget. By the end of the third quarter of this financial year, 140 million rand was paid on overtime, resulting in over 70 million rand unauthorized expenditure. The pre-audited outcome on overtime in this financial year amounts to 216 million rand for the Metro and Centlec. There is no overtime policy in place, and the Freedom from Plus strongly believes that this spending on overtime will be repeated in the new financial year. Therefore, an additional 137 million rand can be added to the projected total operating expenditure for the next financial year with regards to overtime alone. This will increase the total projected operating expenditure to 8.76 billion rand, increasing the deficit further to 470 million rand. The question now is, where will the 217 million rand come from to be transferred to the capital budget for projects to be funded through our own funds? The Freedom from Plus are concerned that if Council adopts this unfunded budget, adjustment budgets will be necessary later in the financial year, whereby funds will be shifted between the votes. This will result that funds yet again be moved from crucial service delivery votes to cover unauthorized, irregular, fruitless and wasteful expenditures. The one main purpose of a budget is to provide a method of controlling expenditure so that the metro may live within its means. It is also clear from the community inputs in the IDP that the main focus should be on basic services, and cost should be cut on projects that is at this stage unnecessary and does not assist in providing these basic services. Employer-related cost amounts to almost 2.5 billion rand, 28.38% of the total operating expenditure. 122 million rand are allocated to performance bonuses. Senior managers' salaries are between 1.8 million and 2.2 million rand a year, which includes performance bonuses between 93,000 rand and 180,000 rand. 2 million rand are allocated to fencing of Bron Fisher in the City Hall. 2.5 million rand are allocated to beautification of city entrances. A further 9 million rand is allocated to update and finalize the indigent registered, after we already paid millions to a private company the last 2 years to finalize this process. Unsustainable tariff charges by Bloem Water, uncontrolled overtime expenditure, contractors and service providers that does not provide value for money in the services rendered and goods delivered to this municipality. Through you, Honourable Speaker, Honourable Executive Mayor, the time for luxuries and handouts to ANC cadres are over. The funds have dried up. And please, take the comments of your fellow councillors to heart. We are all citizens of this metro. The Freedom from Plus, however, do agree with the following remarks in the budget. The metro does not have a long-term financial strategy, and there is a need to review this master plan, which will inform the long-term capital investment plan. However, this will not be achieved under the leadership of an ANC government. The Freedom from Plus cannot and will not vote for the approval of the IDP and the budget as tabled before Council. Lastly, Councillor Mhlapu, it's one thing to budget. Let's take potholes because we are on potholes all day. But if there's no funds, it won't be fixed. And if there is funds, it should be used to fix the potholes. We also had a budget in this financial year indicating the same. It's only the difference in those budgets are the amounts. And we still have potholes. I thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay. Councillors. Councillors, we've come now to our last speaker. I'm going to give over to the Executive Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Fellow councillors. Madam Speaker, can I indulge your indulgence and ask for a 10 minutes caucus, please, if it's allowed?
And if I say no?
I'll get you at the troika.
Okay. Councillors, we're going to break for a 10 minutes caucus. Thank you.
get lost again. Just ask outside.
But I think I must also go.
Yeah, bengisathi ngisho uthembeka awukayi bathroom mina ngibuya khona.
Mina ngihlala e-bathroom so today bengabuye.
Mina ngibuya khona.
Councillors, please take your seats.
Councillor Logan.
Councillor Matai, can I please ask you to just... Oh, sorry. Sorry, Executive Mayor. Can I then also just ask Executive Mayor, after you've given feedback after your caucus, if there's anything else you want to add or anything you want to address after the speeches, you are more than welcome to do so.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Fellow councillors, our intention to hold a caucus was that we have made a commitment to create a spirit of togetherness in this council. A spirit that it's a caring spirit, it's a disciplined spirit in the interest and for attending to the interest of the people of the city that we are running. We may share different opinions at this level, but we have got a fiduciary duty to attend to the interest of our people on the ground. You have had your own contribution with regard to the budget and the IDP, and you have raised some of the pertinent issues that are worth being looked at. And in the spirit of encouraging that we must be in one bus, working together, embracing one another at the end of the day, Madam Speaker, I have considered withdrawing the tabling today and asking you to allow us to come back inside 7 days and request our councillors in their different discipline at the level of their committees and with a proper processes of engagement, and also looking into some of the critical aspects that were tabled before us, to go back to the drawing board, reconsider our thought in and around the budget, and come back and see if we can have a meeting of minds with regard to the tabling of the budget. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, thank you, councillors. Councillors, seeing that the budget has now been withdrawn, I'm moving to Section 25 of the MFMA, which is the failure to approve budget before start of budget year. And it says here, if a municipal council fails to approve an annual budget, including revenue-raising measures necessary to give effect to the budget, the council must reconsider the budget and again vote on the budget or on an amended version thereof within 7 days of the council meeting that failed to approve the budget. Therefore, we will be adjourning this meeting, and then we will call another council meeting on the 22nd of June to reconsider the budget. Thank you, councillors.